Welcome. This live stream of the March 2021 Sandoval's Board of Directors meeting is simulcast on the official communications Facebook page, Sandoval Cape Coral, and also on Sandoval Neighbors Synergy. Alternate viewing of this meeting is also available for your convenience 24/7 on our YouTube channel, Sandoval Video Box, and Sandoval's website, www.livesandoval.com. Consider subscribing to support Sandoval Video Box on YouTube by clicking both the subscribe button and bell to be notified of future meetings and presentations by Sandoval Communications. The meeting will begin shortly. Sandoval Communications thanks you for your support and participation by watching this meeting.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March 25th, 21 Sandoval Board of Directors meeting. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call this meeting to order at 6:05 p.m. Do a roll call. Vice President Lori Bernard.
Present.
Secretary Anita Infantino. Director Kathy Conway.
Present.
Director Melanie Palmer.
Present.
And Director Don Willis. And we're joined tonight by our GM, Casey Pinella, and Eric Davenport from First Services Residential. We will, we established a quorum. Proof of service, please.
Yes, proof of notice.
Okay. Would you like to read the residential comments at this point?
Okay, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. The first comment is from Royston DeWitt off Woodburn Place. I am very concerned about the numbers being thrown around about our management company getting a kickback from the Comcast deal. It appears to be a shady deal from the start, and now we hear that the deal will have Sandoval tied up in a tax issue. If this is going to be such a problem with major financial issues and very shady dealing, why don't you try a better approach? 1, fire the management company for shading dealings with our money. 2, rebate the TV portion of the HOA to homeowners to purchase TV hookup privately. This will stop the excessive spending and the highway robbery we are facing from Comcast and the management company. We can address the issue at a later date, giving the control of the community back to the community. Sandoval can do the legwork in the future, cutting out the middleman. This should never be a knee-jerk reaction. We have smart, educated people living in our community. This is a dirt deal, folks, plain and simple. Okay, thank you. Next one, Louis Falaco. My question is, why do we have to pay 25% fee to First Service for negotiating an agreement with Comcast if they are hired to manage Sandoval? This should be a service they provide. One of the reasons we hired them. Let's say I hire a real estate agent at 6% to buy my home, and they negotiate the purchase of a home, let's say $20K below sale price. Do I pay them 25% K extra for that? Seems like this should be provided as a service by them. That is to say, if we go with Comcast. Thank you, Louis Falaco. Kathy Chaplin. I am not happy with CenturyLink. I'm not happy that CenturyLink has given us an extra couple of months of TV service. Why would they lie to us, stating that the hard date was 3/31 and they did not have the license to continue after March 31st? We were told this by the previous board. Many residents have moved to streaming or cable providers because they followed the previous board's recommendations, and the drop dead date was 3/31. Now many will be paying 2 services, especially if they had additional plans like preferred or premium. We need to receive correct and timely information. Can we all assume that they'll extend additional months once we get closer to May 31st? Thank you. Next one, I have waited and listened for 2 months for answers on the cable issue. There has been no answers, and the correct questions have never been asked. And following the directions of the board of directors, I have purchased an antenna, $128, 3 fire sticks, $159.72, and installation fees of $250, total $537.72. Now in the 11th hour, we've been told that someone decided to ask CenturyLink for an extension of 60 days, and they gave it to us. I have no intention of paying CenturyLink for 2 more months of service after I already spent $537.72 based on what we were told to do. I am not interested in another contract with Comcast. Once was enough. I no longer wish to participate in the bulk services. This entire fiasco has been handled in such an inadequate and unprofessional manner. I am told there are roughly 1425 homes in Sandoval. I would think we would manage it like a business and not a corner mom and pop store.
Who was that from, Casey?
I'm sorry, Lucio Wise, and that was off of Vareo Court. Thank you. This is from Cliff Weitzman. Does any one of the new board or new management company know when all the neighborhood markers are getting fresh coat of paint, not just on Sandoval Parkway? This isn't on an agenda topic, but I'll add that to the open forum. But yes, we have that on the maintenance to-do list for the signs. Sorry, we're jumbled in. This is from Jean Henspeter. I have a question for the board and our management company. If CenturyLink has breached our contract, what is the board doing about it? When we signed with CenturyLink, our fees for CenturyLink and Comcast were about $95 per month and stayed the same, with about $45 going to reserve for the building fund. The residents have been pretty much left in the dark about what the board is planning to do. Are we still going to keep CenturyLink for internet, or will we be dropping them for another provider? Are we going to get a credit on our fees for the difference of the price of internet without cable TV? These are all questions that the residents should be informed of. Eugene Hinspeter, off of Vareo. Casey, with the upcoming, Roger K. With the upcoming demise of our PRISM contract, is there any further info regarding the fee reduction? Considering it's coming up next week, a timely decision would be appreciated. In lieu of PRISM contract disappearing and therefore the added cost of the service being removed, I demand the fee be removed from my quarterly HOA fees until such time as a new service can be initiated and agreed upon. Sounds reasonable, right? And that was from Roger K. Continuous. John Lobianco, addressing CenturyLink termination. I suggest looking into Hotwire and Bright House. I have friends in gated communities here in Lee County that switched from Comcast and are receiving very reasonable rates on internet, TV, and landline service. On my last post, I asked about inquiring into having the speed limit reduced from 55 miles an hour to 45 miles an hour, passing the Veterans Parkway main entrance, eliminating the center median to the main entrance to Sandoval on Veterans Parkway and speeding failing signal, coming to full stops and yielding to vehicles, joggers, and cyclists on the roads in Sandoval. Do we have an update on those concerns? Quickly pause break. CenturyLink items will be addressed later in the meeting as we work through it, and then the same for speeding that will be addressed later in the meeting as well. The next one, was an attachment on Jerry Kern, and I mean to do the 3-minute. I don't know if anyone has a phone. It's a long one. So just a moment. Okay. Right, this is from Jerry Curran. I would like to erase the community division and misunderstanding that seems to have embedded itself between Sandoval and Somerville. As much as Somerville residents volunteer to the Sandoval activities, serve on committees, and strive for equality, as one of the many neighborhoods of our wonderful community, we are still alienated by comments by residents and even our GM of Somerville won't share their pool. It would be wonderful if Somerville and Sandoval could continue to work together for the improvement of the community, but entities within Sandoval repeatedly voice falsehoods that create division. On February 25th, I suggested to Casey the training being proposed to residents regarding towing include a blurb that Somerville has its own rules and parking passes. Her reply was, "We'd be delighted to make mention that those residents residing in Somerville or Villas 1 should reach out to their associations for individual association parking towing policies." On March 3rd, I also mentioned signage of contact info should a vehicle be towed. Her response was Somerville should pursue that if desired, and the permits are for Sandoval, not Somerville. Somerville will need its own contract if they desire towing or security services, and I should discuss this with Vesta. A meeting with Casey and Kathy was scheduled for March the 8th, which led to the topic being deferred to this meeting before the whole board on Friday, March 5th. In the notification to all residents and in subsequent videos produced, no mention of Somerville is made. For the past 5 years, which predates Sandoval having any security, and as I stated to Casey, Cape Coral will not allow multiple towing contracts within any gated community. That is why we had to drop our contract with Romans and Dead or Alive once Sandoval started towing. We are one of many streets within Sandoval. Allied and Global had been instructed on the nuisance of Somerville parking, same as the villas, but once a violation is identified, the towing must occur within the permits filed for Sandoval. As a Sandoval resident, Somerville simply wants to receive the same value treatment as the other 1253 homes do. Somerville residents pay the same quarterly fees as other community members and as such expect the same services. Yes, we have fees for services above and beyond those provided by Sandoval, such as a pool and building maintenance. We simply have an additional HOA to handle those. I understand the previous arguments regarding Somerville and Sandoval plats and Somerville versus Sandoval common areas. We've had legal team, and that's at our 3 minutes. Okay. Go to the next one from Craig Snyder off of Belleville Court. Have you negotiated a monthly price and speed for internet with CenturyLink? Why the extension on the TV now when many of us have already purchased individual TV services on our own? I'm going to take a little breath for a second if you guys don't mind. Okay. Please do not enter into any 7 to 10 year contract for television services streaming in the future. Please accept the fact and move on. I think I mentioned Craig Snyder from Belleville. Thank you. Linda Duclos. We vote against signing any kind of contract with Comcast. Please don't burden us with this. Cable is outdated, and we have options with streaming, and there is just no need to sign any kind of contract with Comcast. They are greedy and customer service always poor. Don't like the fact that our management company can benefit from this proposal. Very unethical and of them to present this proposal with this long-term contract. This one wasn't specifically, I'm going to pass on this one. It's more CenturyLink, but they didn't ask for it to be, it was a comment back from what we sent out. Not to be read. But I'll read this specific questions because the other is just, this is from Kevin and Lynn Berry. Similar to the disappointment that this was good news that CenturyLink was extended. And they were frustrated with the same CenturyLink. Now you say this additional time will allow you to request proposals for other bulk internet and TV for a better look on how to plan for the future. Were you looking for a new provider after CenturyLink dropped their bomb on us. Does this mean that May 31st we will still lose our cable, or what does the future mean? Should we hold on to our new services for cable you advise us to get, thus giving us two services we are paying for? After May 31st, will we be paying for two cable providers? Since I and many others have now contracted with other providers, at your suggestion, can we get a reduction in our HOA fees for the loss of CenturyLink? My neighbor, as well as I am sure others, had to sign 1 year contract with Comcast. Please help and provide us with better answers than this post I got this morning. It is not good news. On a side note, Hotwire does not provide audible screen services for the blind and visually impaired. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Casey. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the past meeting minutes.
And those dates are February the 16th, February the 25th, and March the 10th.
Anita?
Yeah.
Motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Lori? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Move to the President's report. Thank you to the residents of Sandoval for electing me to the Board of Directors. I would also like to thank Kathy Conway for nominating me and my fellow board members for electing me to serve as president for the 2021 term. This is not a position I take lightly and is one with immense responsibility to the 1,425 homeowners here in Sandoval. This board will have many decisions to make that will impact the future of Sandoval for years to come. It is my hope that although we won't always agree on every issue, the final outcome of any decision will be in the best interest of Sandoval. Furthermore, I believe it's essential to set goals at the beginning of every term of a board and monitor those goals throughout the year. Excuse me. Ultimately, we strive to meet or exceed those goals, or if we fail, determine a corrective action to take. As president, here are the goals I have for this board to accomplish in 2021. Negotiate a resolution with CenturyLink and take action necessary regarding our best internet options and to make up for the loss of cable services due to the breach of their contract. Number 2, apply financial safeguards so that we can be fiscally responsible to the board and to the residents. Clubhouse expansion project monitored for a timely opening on both buildings and within cost containment. Reopen the homeowners association office while still maintaining social distancing. Reopening all board meetings to resident participation. Community-wide input on all major decisions placed before the board. A complete evaluation of the Envira access system, arm and gate failures, and better tracking and enforcement of fines when gates are damaged. A detailed evaluation that leads to recommendations to reduce the events of speeding, reckless operation, and other traffic violations such as stop signs, crosswalk yielding, etc. And finally, to work with our activities director to phase in an array of activities for the young and old alike. Reaching all these goals will not be easy. A year from now, history will determine what we have accomplished and why or why not. As a board, it won't be we won't always agree, and we won't always be perfect in our decisions. What is important is that all decisions that we make are solely in the best interest of Sandoval. Thank you. Board Treasurer's report. We don't have a Board Treasurer's report at this time. We did receive information. Casey, I'll let you explain that.
Yep. The treasurer resigned, and I was not given, I believe he sent it to yourself. So Tony Anthony, forgive me for not pronouncing, I didn't know him that well, that long, has resigned as treasurer, and that is an open position.
Right. I was talking about the information we received from Tony.
The other one, the audit
Tony,
reports, sorry, the audit reports from that Tony is, we received them today. They've been sent to First Service Residential Accounting side so that they can work to get beginning balances and hoping to get financials next month.
Right. And just to add to that, Bill, I talked to Bill today, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to continue along and making sure the bills get paid and things function until we get the treasurer situation figured out. So I want to thank Bill for his willingness to participate. General Manager's report.
The social director, Lorraine Welch, started and has taken off with the social activities. She's connecting with residents and bringing life back into this area. The community garage sale is this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then next Saturday is the community Easter egg hunt event on April the 3rd. We'll have an ice cream truck, food truck, Easter egg hunt for those that have signed up with Lorraine, obstacle course for the teens. So we're covering all the age demographics there. And I think it'll be an absolute great time. And Lorraine has already had a large number of responses, and we thank all the residents for giving her a warm welcome into the community. We have a part-time pool attendant that will, with the permission of the board, go ahead and make full-time, which I think will be a benefit to the community to have a solid, stable face out there. And then we are still interviewing for additional part-time pool attendants. The community pool slide is closed effective immediately due to repairs that are needed. We're projecting possibly at least through the next week. On-site staff will start to work with First Service Residential in April to get a timeline of transitioning the community website. In regards to the pickleball tennis court project, More Sports, I reached out to them for an estimated start date on that project, and they told me that they were about 3 weeks booked out for this project. The second quarter dues, I inquired with First Service Accounting, and it seems that those will be reflected to residents' accounts a few days prior to the first. There is a chance some may see the charge now, but it's typically not until right before the first of the quarter. The office will be closed partial day, April the 1st, due to LCEC pulling power from the current box to the new building. Drainage questions, just as a general updates on that, they were sent to the association attorney for some feedback from them, and we're still working on next steps with attorneys. We don't have an answer for the board on that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Go to the ad hoc committee reports, clubhouse improvement.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
Can we verify, either Eric or Casey, with the April 1st second quarter payment, does First Service allow a 10-day or a 15-day window before late fees?
It's whatever the policy is with the association. I don't know that right off the top of my head. So whatever the association's policy, if it's a 10-day, 15-day, some are 30 days. That's what it's set at. Specific to Sandoval.
Yeah, it's not First Service, it's in our, and we inputted that data when we had set up, and I believe it's 10 days,
10,
I want to say.
I think was 10, right? Yeah. I think it was the 10th. Oh, just look for people.
Yeah, but it's definitely per the association's policy,
Okay,
not
very good.
First
Thank you for
Service.
clarification. I'm sorry, pardon me.
Those draws were always on the 3rd of the month, not before.
Not the draws, the late fees.
No, the ACHs out of the accounts were always done on the 3rd of the month.
Okay.
I mean, you were mentioning here before the end of the quarter, I think.
Charges.
Okay.
Charges to your account. So if you go to try to pay early, you may not see that you have
Okay.
anything due. So then, once you get closer to that date, you'll actually see the charge.
When a resident sets up their QuickPay account, they can choose whenever the payment comes out to themselves. So it's not a set date for everybody.
But thanks.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, the Clubhouse Expansion Report. Progress is the title of this report. We're making substantial progress in both buildings. The renovations are progressing quite nicely. The fitness room now has new ceiling tiles, new lights, and its first coat of paint. The bathrooms are being tiled this week, and the new building is seeing room studs being put into place, and everyone can tell the roof is ready for its tiles as well. We've encountered several things in the existing building that have required change orders to provide a building to which we can all be proud. As mentioned previously, we put in new ceiling and LED lights in both bathrooms. Both the movement room and the fitness center will have new ceiling tiles and new LED lights as well. The can lights in the fitness center room have existing can light bulbs of varying levels of warmness. And I suggest that out of our operations budget that we replace these 30 light bulbs with new daylight LEDs so that it will reduce the heat that these bulbs put out, plus we'll have some uniformity in the light that's being put out instead of warm and daylight. This could be done by our staff with a short ladder. This bulb upgrade will reduce the temperature that they put off and provide a maintenance-free light. On Wednesday, I met with the HVAC engineer, Florida Hydronics, who is the HVAC company, Stevens project manager, and Stevens superintendent for an hour-and-a-half skull session to evaluate the existing building HVAC system. They found the following problems. The pumps that remove the condensation water from the units had been disabled, and that the drain lines that were currently in place were well undersized. The smoke alarms that had been placed in the duct had all been removed. Warm air from outside was being pumped into the building uncooled. This duct will be blocked. A duct had an open end that was pumping cold air into the attic. 2 blower motors were found in the ducts to be non-functional. And this was found because we took down the drywall ceiling that was in the bathroom, which was about maybe 12 to 15 inches above the drywall ceiling, so no one could have ever gotten in and serviced that motor. Now with the drop ceiling, it's readily accessible. That's probably not been working for a long time because the whole motor was rusted. Also, there was no separate thermostats in the bathrooms. So new routing of ducts will be made to correct this to include the needed thermostat in the women's bathroom. We will be receiving a change order to correct these glaring deficiencies. And it appears that our previous HVAC company at some point had made these changes, which were major safety violations. The exact dollar figure for these repairs or corrections will be coming. Of our $100,000 contingency, we have spent a major portion of this correcting existing behind-the-walls deficiencies discovered during the renovation. Going forward, I recommend a commercial HVAC company be engaged to do our HVAC maintenance, such as Florida Hydronics, the ones that are putting in this new equipment in our building, and also the finding all these errors and correcting these in our existing building.
May I ask a quick question? I don't want to interrupt you, but for that, the service, Sandoval's in an HVAC contract for service. So are you asking to maintain monthly, quarterly?
Well, we need a maintenance contract.
It's in place.
Yeah,
so
but it's with a residential company, and I just listed all the problems.
I just wanted to note that we need to look at that contract.
Well, I think that you've got
Progressive Air. I think you guys signed with a couple
I have no idea.
4 months ago, but it's a contract that's in place.
Well, I would say that you probably need to reevaluate that, because after these buildings are done, there's a year warranty on all the equipment that's being put in, and they're going to maintain it for the first year, so you will not need a contract.
Didn't we recently replace 2 or 3 of the things on top of the roof of the building? Air conditioning, I don't know if they were motors or...
No, the units are on the ground, and then up in the attic are the air handlers.
The handlers.
But didn't we replace something a year or two ago?
We've replaced a couple of those, yes. But the problem has been is that some of these units are tied together. If we wanted to get in some of the details, they have 2 units that are tied together in a big plenum, and they had 2 separate thermostats that were operating the same unit. I mean, there's so many things that were quite bastardized that was not done correctly. So
I think you're talking about so I guess there was a gentleman that called, said he had the contract. I think he does residential. I said, you're not in a contract with us. You can't come service. 2 people were showing up at one time.
yeah, well, I think you need to...
So the commercial one just got signed only maybe, I think they've serviced, it was a 1-year contract, maybe coming up on the end of it, but they are right now, so we can get together on that. I'll show you who they are, but it is, but I know who you're talking about because he tried to come in and service, and I told him you don't have a contract, and I think he does residential.
Well, and I
Said he
think
installed
we
2
know,
things.
since this Florida Hydraulics is putting in this, and they're going to be taking care of it for a year, I think, we should... They now know the system. Someone else that comes in here does not know all the nuances. I mean, it's like a labyrinth up there is how all these things are hooked together. And
We
they're
just
going
need
to
to make sure we don't double do
well,
contracts.
We can look at any existing contracts, look what the cancellation.
then I think
I'm familiar with Florida Hydronics. I've worked with them for like 6 years.
that's all I'm commenting.
Much bigger
Yeah.
systems.
Okay,
Very good company.
the flooring for the renovation is scheduled to arrive the end of April. And if we keep this schedule, we'll be placing a new floor in the office and painting the walls the first 2 weeks of May. So during this period, it will be necessary for the office staff to relocate into the fitness room, which the floor should be in. Residents could then come in the back entry to receive services as needed. I believe that we should begin thinking about some of our furnishing needs for each building. To this end, I would ask for a committee member who is interested in leading the group to assemble a list of these items and start looking for good prices, such as sales on washer dryers, refrigerators. There's 2 refrigerators scheduled for the kitchenette, and there's a washer dryer, which would be the normal size, and one sitting on top of the other.
Why would we need a washer dryer? We don't have towel service. We're not a country club. There's no pool towel service or fitness towel service. Why would we need a washer dryer?
It's put in. It's in the plans. It's ready to go. They were taking tablecloths and things like that home.
I took them home a
And
lot.
so I think it is. I think it's something that would be
We'll
an
turn
added
into a
possibility.
laundromat. People were using the
And you said you're
showers.
moving the management office into the
The fitness area.
the fitness. Do we have internet and everything will be hardwired in the CenturyLink cords and all that stuff?
Well, we'll have to. There's going to. I'm not sure how that's all work, but you need a long Ethernet cable, and we can make it work.
And that's on the, what date approximately?
Well, approximately the first 2 weeks of May.
First 2 weeks of May, because
Yeah.
Gary had said around April the 20th. So
Well-
you're thinking now, first 2 weeks
Well,
of May?
about the 20th when the floor is going to come in, and so they're going to start doing other areas. And these are all estimates, as to what the exact date is when we get closer. I think then we'll know.
Okay, we
but-
just have, 5 staff we need to move, so just keep me posted.
Well, I
if you
think
don't mind.
some of that heavy stuff that you're going to move, you might have to have some moving company help you
Yeah.
move that around. So.
I
so-
would guarantee it.
So, no, me too. Okay, so back to the furnishings. Additional tables and chairs, lounge furniture, as well as patio-type furniture for out on the patio, and a conference room table and chairs, to name a few. I'm just naming a few. Existing plants have been relocated along the pool fence to Surfside. And this facilitates a place to put pavers outside the patio on the inside of the fence, and it will provide an open view of the pool from the patio. Okay, the color selection of the 2 exteriors can be seen on the south side of the building next to the lake. The area where they blocked up the door, they have painted the white trim, the actual white color, and inside that they have painted the selected color for the building itself. So if you
On the existing
would like to go
building?
on the existing building.
Okay.
So if you'd like to go take a look at it, and then all residents can go take a look as well, so you'll see kind of what the new look's going to be.
I went up today to look at it. It's a very classic look. It's a very nice color, and the
It's
gray.
like a
and-
taupe or
It's a gray.
gray.
It's gray. It's
Gray
very, very gray.
Gray is in now. That's
Very,
good.
very
Oh,
pretty.
yeah.
It's this color,
That's nice.
and this is the lighter, and this was the darker, and this is the
That's the
one
middle
that's
one. Yep.
that's the middle one.
Yeah. That looks good.
So stop by and take a look. Now the last item is, and you've alluded to it a little bit, but I find this really disturbing to me. Until the December, I was tracking through our financials all the construction expenditures. And since the takeover of First Service, we hadn't received any financials. And this is untenable to me, and it needs immediate corrective action. Sounds like maybe that's going to happen. And also, there was a duplicate check issued to Stevens Construction, and then there was a mess up because the one that they cashed was the one that was voided. And I just don't know how you could have 2 checks of over $200,000 sent to the same vendor.
Nobody caught us.
Well, no. So then the check that was cashed was voided, so there had to be another check. To me, that's not good service. I'm just concerned about that. These are just issues to emphasize the reason that we need a top-notch treasurer on our HOA to monitor and sound the alarm if needed regarding our financial interests.
Can I say on that note, so it's clarified, that with that last, we need a sound treasure after the dig of the 2 checks cut, that those 2 that was back doors, no one on site saw it at all whatsoever, and the treasurer did not see it at all whatsoever. We did not approve two, and the treasurer did not approve two. I just want to state that. It did not have anything to do with the treasurer or the on-site staff. But I agree that it's a huge error, and
Eric, the matter has been resolved, correct? A proper check was delivered today.
It's not something I've run into before. It's not a proud point. It is. I'll go out and say it is embarrassing, but I did have a check personally delivered to Stevens Construction by 3 o'clock today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comment or questions to Don?
great progress.
No?
Nice.
Have any update on the Tanner Morrison litigation?
Don, do you have anything update on that, because you're on that committee too? No.
No, but
That's all right.
I'm going to say that Al Roper and I were on that committee only as observers.
Okay.
We were not people that were really involved with the litigation, and so going forward, I think it would be better if that was left to lawyers and take myself off that.
So, is there, is someone still on the committee?
Well, the committee was the attorney from Morgan & Morgan, Ron Spooner, Dave Hiller, Al Roper, and myself.
Do
And
you
as I
know-
said, Al and I were just really, we did not contribute hardly anything to the process other than just being there.
I guess who should I follow up with? Ron? Chairperson, who is the chairperson of that committee?
Ron was.
Okay. So I'll loop you in on that, Gary.
Okay. Risk Management Committee? Any update?
Risk management, that's an open committee. If someone would like to appoint themselves for that committee, that was Bill Tubb. So it's open at this time.
I can do that, and I'll take that.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathy.
I think it's Craig Snyder, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
So, and then we have the
And I'll
cable.
get Bill's notes.
Oh, there you go.
Leads us to Steve Gasses with the Cable Internet Committee report. Where's Steve again?
You should take my seat here. Yeah.
Do you want to sit here now?
musical chairs.
Yeah.
Washer and dryer.
Well, since there isn't any interest in this, literally, I'd like to give a quick report on where the committee is and how we're doing. As you heard, CenturyLink has extended the discontinuance of the Prism TV service until the end of May. Pressure from our association and other associations who are in the same boat and expressed frustration with CenturyLink and their lack of response to the issues facing their customers really necessitated this extension. Homes that have signed up with streaming services can cancel that service if they wish and reestablish near the end of May if it's more palatable for you. We're told that if you call customer service for those respective services, you may be able to get a partial refund and then reestablish with no penalty. We hope that the difficulty connected with employing an alternate TV source will be mitigated with the additional time, because we know that a lot of residents had not gotten totally involved in getting some kind of an alternate service. However, the committee wanted us to note that one advantage they'd like it disseminated is that you can utilize YouTube TV simultaneously on 3 different devices at the same time. With this feature, you can share your account with other family members by sharing your YouTube TV email and address password. Each of you can create a profile of your favorite channels and recordings. So, for instance, if you have a summer home or you have a student in college, they can take advantage of that, which is a benefit you may want to hang on to and not relinquish while we wait for the other shoe to drop. Gary, you had formed a committee to deal with the CenturyLink contract. I don't know if there's any update on.
I'll go over that after you.
Okay.
we'll hear about that from Gary. What we're doing as an ad hoc committee, though, we'll continue to work with them to suggest dealing with CenturyLink from a technical perspective. CenturyLink has made an offer to increase our internet speed to 200 megabits if we sign a new 10-year contract. The ad hoc committee suggests that the existing contract should be left in place and that we use that contract and its breach as leverage to increase our network speed for no additional cost.
Would that be through like an amendment or modified contract?
Well, I'll leave that to Mr. Caves and his
That's what we
expertise.
suggested, yeah.
I got a short memo from, who was it? Young lady. Oh, Roxanne Farron at CenturyLink, that the extension was as a result of negotiations with Caves and the CenturyLink attorney, which kind of caught me by surprise, only because I've been talking to the underlings and they, saying, are we dropping dead? And if so,
Right.
what's the date? And they finally came back to me and said we're good through the end of May. So I can only go by what they told me.
You have it in writing?
Yep.
Okay.
I have it in an email if that's considered writing, I guess.
And just to be clear, because I think it did come up in a couple of resident comments,
Yep.
this isn't something we just started asking for. We've been asking
Oh,
for
no,
long
yeah.
to extend. So-
Right.
Going
When
back
they
to
dropped
January.
when they dropped this bomb on us, and they really didn't drop it on us. We actually sought it out,
Right.
only to find out that they dropped the bomb back in August, September, and we never got it.
Right.
So there was a delayed timer on the explosion until December of this year.
Right.
Otherwise, we would have been, seeking alternate vendors, way before this. So as I said, the ad hoc committee suggests we stay with the existing contract, leave it in place, and use that breach as leverage against keeping our costs the same but increasing the speed. Since we have 4 years left on the existing contract, that will give us some time to go through vendor proposals and decide if we want to rewire the whole subdivision or if we want to stay with what we got. Maybe CenturyLink will want to relinquish their fiber. It's on our property. Maybe we can kick them off. I mean, there are a lot of legal issues, and I'm not a lawyer or an accountant. They keep trying to make me that, but we'll leave that up to the attorneys to hash out. We are, sorry, got a frog in my throat. The one thing that that the committee was really concerned about was what happens if CenturyLink doesn't like our position, or what if we decide to go with another vendor, say in May? Is CenturyLink going to come back and try to go after us in court? And we got a brief statement from Caves indicating that we have basically as much flexibility as we want in terms of seeking other options.
Is that because they are technically in breach of contract with us?
Well, he didn't really go in any elaborate detail. He just said that, in so many words, it's not an issue. Okay. And the general thinking is that it wouldn't really be worth their while. They don't want to be in the TV business anymore. We know that. They're going to dangle a higher speed for the same price, but I'll get into the technical details here in a sec. On the path to issuing our RFP and getting the vendors all lined up, the one issue that was tabled, and Gary and I have spoken about this, is the contentious board resolution with Comcast that allows First Services, or allows us access to the First Services pre-negotiated contract. We know there's a number of tax position questions, and those are being reviewed by our accountant after some of the residents informed us that there might be some tax liability connected with the Dorothy and so on. But I want to stress again, I don't know why.
Steve, we got that coming up as an
okay.
agenda item, so
Okay.
we can cover that part
But
of it.
all I wanted to say is that there's really no obligation, and they are just one of many vendors. And if they're chosen or not chosen, or if we use only them and not First Services, it's really not an issue. One of the questions we've been asked by people is, had we gone to the 31st or now the end of May, what about the disposition of the CenturyLink equipment, all the boxes and everything else that we've got? And so we got a note back from them, and it said, CenturyLink will provide Sandoval with a 18 by 18 by 18 container for the residents to drop the equipment off. A schedule and locations will be provided as we move closer to the end date. What happens if some of the equipment isn't returned? Well, they said the preference is to have all the equipment returned. However, there are no penalties or fees for unreturned PRISM equipment. So there you are. What happens if the resident is out of town? No problem. The resident will get a return label provided by the property staff for anybody that needs to mail in their equipment. This one's a kind of an important one, though. That will my internet be impacted when the PRISM system is disconnected? There should not be an impact to the resident's internet service during the elimination of the PRISM TV service. If the property is upgrading the existing CenturyLink internet speed, there could be a brief interruption. Should a resident lose service, they should unplug the modem, wait 2 minutes, and then plug the modem back in, and hopefully you'll get reset to a new IP address. If you still don't have a connection, please remember we have a dedicated 800 number, which is 800-821-2589. And that puts you in connection with the help desk for bulk services. If you call the general number, they will not know you're on a bulk program, and they will run you around the block up and down, and they'll have you signed up to AT&T and be sending you new equipment and any manner of things.
Would you repeat that number, please?
It is 800-821-2589.
Thank you.
Those numbers are on the website.
Yeah, and Jerry has shared
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Jerry Evans has
It's
sent
just
that out previously.
we got a memo the other day that unfortunately the same thing that happened to me last, I guess was it April, I think?
Yeah,
I can't
whenever the
remember,
outages,
Casey, when that happened, but I simply called and asked for the science channel, silly me, and they said, well, we're not doing any upgrades. Oh, really? Okay, we're switching you over to AT&T. And so out comes a box, and off went my PRISM TV. So we got that all fixed, but that was my first indication. Yeah,
Things were not quite.
you got to make sure if you do speak to somebody, you have the first thing you should say is, "Am I speaking to someone on the bulk desk?" And they should say yes. If they kind of whizzle around or I'll transfer you. No.
Well, you're talking to India.
Yeah. Welcome to India. If the HOA is retaining CenturyLink internet services, you should not need to return the modem. That's another big question. Please keep that equipment in place. If the HOA switches to a new internet provider, the modem equipment may need to be upgraded, and in that case, in accordance with the RFP, the exchange will be made by the new vendor. That makes sense. This should answer a number of the other questions that were asked during the remarks. communities like ours are realizing that they need to manage their own networks, not be managed by bulk providers that are doing business the same old way it's been done for many years. As an example, CenturyLink offered to upgrade our speed to 200 megabits per second, which is fine for the short run, but not according to the specifications in the RFP. The RFP calls for 500 megabits per second, symmetrical. Why do I want symmetrical? I want symmetrical because all of our appliances and the other things in our homes now are talking up about as much as they're talking down. So if you haven't got symmetrical service, you're only getting half the service you really are going to need in the future. Secondly, we need to ask for a capability of going to 1 gigabit symmetrical. The offices, clubhouse spaces will all have gratis accounts, but I want those installed at 1 gigabit so that we have complete gate access, video access for our board meetings, whatever facilities we need. But again, at 200 megabits at no cost, that's all we're getting from CenturyLink if we do that.
But that's without negotiation.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yep, exactly. Secondly, for instance, the RFP will provide a dedicated service number, reports on network performance, which are extremely important to us engineers, as well as compensation for outages over 3 hours, and many more conditions that essentially stabilize the network. In addition, the RFP calls for an end-to-end equipment upgrade to any existing facilities to meet the specified speed, and that they must be engineered and made operational within 90 days of contract award. Now, this falls into the existing fiber or cable plant folks. If we want 500 megabits symmetrical and they're successful, then the RFP requires that they have all that equipment upgraded within 90 days. Now, if we go to an end-to-end supplier that is going to install all new fiber, which we may do, that has to be done in 8 months. But it's just like a construction project. We have to be able to review the drawings. We're going to have construction meetings. We're going to have other things that are required by the RFP to make sure that the project doesn't take 2.5 years.
8 months is long enough.
6 to 8 is what they signed from the get-go.
Yeah.
So Steve, just so I can say that back, make sure I'm following what you're saying.
Okay.
If we are just changing out the provider, so instead of CenturyLink, which we have our modems with now, we're going with a different company and they're gonna give us a new modem.
Right.
That's the 90 days. But if we need to redo, like we're going from CenturyLink to a fiber, and they need to run fiber actually through the community, that's the 6 to 8 months.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, the two categories.
Okay.
Right. There are other technical issues that are covered by the RFP, but again, they're not in the current CenturyLink contract. Things like latency, 20 milliseconds or less, packet loss, all of those things go together to make a good network, and that we have control over that network. Furthermore, as you pointed out, each residence will probably need a new modem at some point, either in the short term or long term. Well, it turns out the new modems have 3 speeds now. I don't want them just to give us an old modem. I want something that's capable of the latest and greatest, which means you'll have wireless speeds at 1 gigabit or more in your home. So I just wanted to give you an overview of some of the challenges we've got with this RFP and getting out on the street, dealing with the vendors and the people, just so that the community knows that there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes.
When do you anticipate the RFPs to be released?
I'm shooting for, well, we're going to have to let the board take a look at it, so I would say mid-April.
Thank you.
there's a lot of work that goes into it. We got the legal contract side as well as the technical side. So thanks for your patience. I hope it's covered a number of the subjects that we're
Very
passing
informative.
through.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I will open the floor to questions. Seeing none.
Thank you very much for,
Yeah, I'm sorry it was so
Your committee's
long,
good
but we had a
work.
lot of stuff go on this
Right.
past week.
okay, we'll move along.
Your turn.
Casey gets situated again. Move along to old business.
What about the contract?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. We, in the process of forming the Cable Internet Contract Committee, is a committee that's going to deal with the legal side of a resolution with CenturyLink from the breach of the contract. You know, what do they plan to do to solve the issue of taking away the cable, reduction in rates, things that Steve talked about, where we get free upgrades on the internet. And that committee's design, that's going to be led by Rob and our attorney, and a member of Steve's committee will be on that. And we'll have a couple other members yet to be determined who will be on that committee that will meet with CenturyLink for the negotiation of a successful resolution. CenturyLink has indicated that they want to meet and have a successful resolution, so we will hope that they'll work on that as promised.
They've already met though with CenturyLink, correct? In light of the 10th or the 17th, when the board voted to stand up the committee? Has there been initial discussions?
The only discussion was what Rob had to get this extension, the 2-month extension.
Right, and are there residents on that committee?
There's nobody's been appointed to the committee as of yet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, new old business street paving?
Street paving, we were still waiting on the 40% deposit to be issued and delivered to the paving company from the contract that was signed a while back. It should be arriving to them any day now, and then we'll start scheduling which street and sending out maps and dates and such.
Yeah, and any time frames on that when that might start?
I'm waiting, and once they get the check, then we'll go on their schedule, so, we can send out a message and update just as soon as we hear back.
Okay. Continuing old business, the assisted living facility, and I think Kathy, Melanie, Dawn, you're gonna kinda have to bring
Yeah.
Lori and Anita and I kinda up to snuff on where we are with this.
Want me to do a show? Yeah, go ahead.
So Ron was handling this. Ron, myself, Bill Tubb, and Jerry Evans back in the day. We met with the developer, Dr. Desai, from north of Tampa somewhere, with the plan they had was to build an assisted living facility on a plot of land that Sandoval does. That currently, at that time, a year ago, that plot of land was zoned for multi-residential dwellings versus commercial. Secondly, a height restriction. They're building it at 3 stories, so that was beyond the 2-story that I think was provided for. And then also, too, the square footage, it was going to be bigger, larger than what was initially included. So we wanted to put a cap on the square footage. So they were amenable to our 3 concerns. And then we also discussed some other concerns, such as use of Hayden Lane, placement of the garbage, what do you call those big cans, the big container,
the
you know, the dumpsters.
yard waste or
Like the dumpsters.
the
So that-
dumpster.
because the front of the building would face the back of Belk's. The back of the building would basically face the Verdmont wall. So, you know, with garbage trucks coming in, offloading and uploading the garbage, we were concerned about that. Secondly, use of Hayden Lane, would it bring additional traffic through? They would restrict use of Hayden Lane. They would enter in off of, I think it's called 23rd Street, is the little cut-through street between the back of Belk's and this plot of land. So we thought we had good discussion. We thought we were clear. However, when they sent a revised plan, they didn't include some of our concerns, number one. And number two, they were looking for a decision on us to accept a limited assignment of rights to control the commercial area of the bigger Bonita Bay package, which we weren't looking to do, to include enforcement of like the architectural review guidelines for Bonita Bay concerning the properties, the obligation and the properties. So at this point, the board, in December, we had discussion, and in January, and our position was that we're not looking to engage, to take on this responsibility. Number one, there's no, you know, it would be a resource implications for us to maintain this or to enforce in this area. Bigger than just the ALF, it was more the actual strip mall, right? The commercial.
It was a big space, yeah. And originally it started that it was, they were trying to work with us and be, you know, good
Responsive,
partners, right?
yeah.
Good neighbors. And, you know, they said, well, we're gonna go 3 stories, but we're gonna do landscaping and we'll have dark skylights. And, you know,
Right.
they were really trying to get our approval on it. And store or something there, this is probably better. If somebody's gonna develop on that land, this would be better. But, yeah, then they ended up coming back and didn't adhere to all the stuff they originally had said and wanted us to take on.
Something that I picked up there was a little troubling, and it said assisted living or similar facility. A similar facility could be a drug rehab facility that could open up if we give them that option to say, well, we decided we're not going to go with assisted living, we're going to go with drug rehab or correctional rehab or things like that, which things I don't think we want in our backyard.
He had, the developer, this Dr. Desai, you met him too, Don, a very nice man. He has built, I don't want to say a number, but he's built more than one of these in the greater Tampa area. And from the schematics that he presented here, and the descriptions of the rooms and whatnot, it would be an assisted living facility. ALF was always referenced, always.
And I think the reality of it is we don't have control over it. You know, it's not our
Exactly.
land, so
Yeah,
we're kind
I
of
think the
limited.
major consideration is that when we got the document they wanted us to sign, it was basically a blanket turnover with complete approval and none of the things that we talked
That we-
about.
that we
So therefore,
requested.
it was not a signable document.
It was not
Right.
responsive, right? I mean, there was overload, so we weren't in a position
So
to
we didn't sign it.
entertain it.
So is our position
So,
is that
I mean,
we-
did he come back with another document, or is he just wanting to know where he stand on the original document, which we've already told him we wouldn't sign?
Well, I think it's the same.
I forwarded, yeah, whatever
Yeah, but I don't think
asked
it
him.
hasn't been revised.
Well, then we're still not
Right,
signing
so our
it.
position is the same.
I told him that.
We're not
He reaches
interested.
out to management all the time.
Yeah.
And so I forwarded on to the board, you know, for an update, and to my knowledge, I tell him
But we couldn't-
specifically there were things that needed to be changed in that original that were requested, and then whatever you sent back did not have those. And then, now I remember, let me go talk to so-and-so and send something to you, and
But
Well,
the
unless we
last
get-
discussion we had was in January as a board,
Okay.
and our position then, it was unanimous, was that it was something it's not possible that we would look to sign off on it.
Right.
And I think, Don, you'll agree, right? Our position was, we're not looking to take on that additional
Oh, absolutely not.
responsibility to
No.
enforce, you know, among the shops and whatnot up there. It would be resource intensive, resource implications,
Well,
no
it would
funding.
cost us money
It
to
would
do
cost
that.
us money to do it, exactly.
That's still our position.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
fine.
I will relay the message. Thank
No
you.
change in position.
That's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay. Continuing under old business, the Comcast resolution letter. Comcast resolution letter is basically how I understand it, and please feel free to chime in, is First Services has, over the years, entered into an agreement with Comcast for favorable rates to communities that they provide service
At a national level.
to at a national level, right. So Comcast, First Services, I had a conversation with Steve Harshman the other day and getting his explanation on this. And the fact that, First Services monitors this, they created it. If you sign a contract through First Services with Comcast, they take a 25% in their agreement with Comcast, percentage of the door fee. If you don't go, we can negotiate separately with Comcast. Comcast is going to give us less of a door fee, and at the end of the day, tax implications aside, it'd be less money we'd receive from Comcast negotiating with them directly, as opposed to if we negotiated directly through First Services. I don't think, in my conversation with Steve, they care one way or the other what we do. I've heard they're forcing this down our throat. You do what you want to do as a board. It's just out there as a benefit to the people that see it as a benefit. It's a non-binding resolution. This, to answer some of the questions, Casey, and I've been getting, a lot of emails, as many of my fellow board members. This is not signing a contract. This is not agreeing that we're going to take Comcast as our vendor of choice. It's simply they're raising their rates next month, and if we want to lock in those rates, if somewhere down the line we decided to make an agreement with them, then they'll my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, they won't even do an RFP if we don't have this agreement in place. Correct? Okay. So they're looking to have this signed by the end of this month. So I would like to throw this out for discussion among the board members.
And I'd just like to correct a couple of the comments too. Casey was not involved with this process whatsoever.
At all.
The ad hoc committee was reaching out to a host of vendors. Hotwire was one of the ones, Uverse, AdCom, Bluestream, Summit, Comcast, and First Service. There was full disclosure saying that they have a corporate partnership, and Dominic is the point of contact, and he was the one that the committee under L. Roper reached out to Dominic and got educated on what this process is. And we then got a copy of the resolution from Comcast. And again, it wasn't a contract. It was just a simple documentation saying that they have an agreement, and with the agreement, should we look to leverage the agreement, it was acknowledgement that there would be a commission fee paid to First Service, like a finder fee or of the 25% of the $165 a door incentive to sign with them. Okay, having said all of that, should we sign with them? It doesn't preclude us from looking at other options or anything. When we were talking to Comcast, one of the questions we had was that previously Comcast was here. I'm in phase 3, you're in phase 3. The question was, is the infrastructure in place to address phase 3? And they said they would have to send their people out. I don't know if they're engineers or who they would be. But until this is signed, they're not going to spin their wheels. That was another reason why they wanted it signed, because they couldn't tell us to what degree their infrastructure was in place, And they would honor the 2020 rates, is what you said. March 31st, the rates will be jacked up to the 2021 rates. So, go ahead, do you want to say something?
Yeah, the only other thing, so my understanding is that if we don't sign this, we cannot get accurate pricing or timing, because we don't know what the real price would be, because we don't know what the Phase 3 equipment is.
Correct.
So if we don't sign it, we basically are just choosing not to even consider Comcast.
Right.
If we do sign it, all it's doing is saying that they may be one of the options we look into. There's no commitment to go forward with
Right.
it.
And we ran it by the attorneys, the association attorneys, and he said that there was full disclosure by First Service. There's nothing hinky about it. That this is a very, again, a standard practice. That there's a commission or a finder's fee. They're both national companies. They're leveraging their purchasing power. They're offering us a service. Should we decide to sign with them, that First Service would get the 25% commission of the $165 a door.
Any
I'm
comments?
not in favor of signing that, because I don't think that they should get anything. They, we paid them already for a service, so why should they get 25% of that?
Well, that's a business deal.
The
I mean,
tax,
that's-
I'm sorry,
To be,
the tax ramifications bother me. I'd like to know if we have to pay a certain amount, it lowers our financial
Benefit.
benefit.
Right.
So I don't feel comfortable.
But could we negotiate that it's a direct pay from Comcast to First Service without coming through us?
And there's no
You know,
tax, yeah, there's no
and that,
tax,
we can't entertain that because until we sign it, Comcast won't talk to us.
there's no tax ramification if we don't do a deal.
Right.
Yeah, and then that comes
Right.
into play. If we decide to do a deal, and then we got to look into what
Yeah.
the tax ramifications would be at that
If I may
point.
on the taxing, because I have other communities that have gone and done deals with different providers, and it's common that there is a door fee involved with, kind of no matter what the provider is. So typically what they do is if they are, let's just say they sign a 5-year term, well, they actually realize that door fee over that term of the 5 years. They get the money right up front, but they actually apply it into their financials and into their books over that term of that contract. And their CPAs are successful every year of offsetting with expenses to where there are no tax implications. I don't have one association that has that has realized a tax implication off of door fee.
My comments are that there's been a firestorm of people talking about the Comcast and their experiences with it, and I think it's something we need to stay away from. I don't think it's an option that we should really be considering. I think that the cable business is something that's going to fade out. I'm strongly encouraging that we get into the streaming, and I have something I'd like to read. A gentleman sent to me, and I sent it to all of you, but I think it's really pertinent. There was one comment here. I don't believe we should choose a one-size-fits-all solution to our PRISM replacement. And if we're going with a bulk cable thing, you're doing a one-size-fits-all. And I think if you listen to Steve, when he was in here, he was talking about something like the YouTube TV. You can have 3 TVs going at one time in different locations, so you can share it from one house to another, or you can share it from one family member to another. And I think that, that's where these things are really heading. Prime, Amazon Prime is a streaming thing. I think we're doing some streaming and we don't realize it. And I think, some people want a big sports package, and some people don't watch much TV, and they just want a small number of things. And if you allow the community to pick and choose what they like, then I think, and then you decide what you want to pay for it. I mean, I think there are going to be people, some of that don't get cable at all or TV at all, and so therefore, if they're here only 6 months, think of how much money, not necessarily the HLA is going to say. I mean, let's just use round figures. This is $1 million. Okay, if you let individuals get whatever they want. There are going to be some people that are going to get the same thing. They're going to be using it in two places. So the overall cost to the individual residents as a whole in our community will be less than the $1 million. And then you'll get to pick what you like. So I think that, it's time for us to think about getting us the very best internet service possible. And Steve, thought 500, and I'm fully in favor of that. And the gigabyte, as an option. I think that's what this negotiation committee with CenturyLink ought to be shooting for. And then provide us the strongest internet possible, because that's what's going to be the wave of the future. And don't think small, because when we did the 40, we were given the option of 100 for another $3, and there were 8 people who voted for that, of which I was one. When we had that meeting, and now 40, they look at you like, gosh, that's the dark ages. Well, 100 will look like the dark ages eventually. So I think that, we really need to provide the best internet speed possible and allow every resident to pick and choose what they want. And,
Right.
I have to say that this May extension has thrown a ringer, because people have really gone out really hard to try to get themselves hooked up and learn about the streaming.
Right.
And now they're ending up paying for two things, because they're not, the HOA is not going to be able to afford them a rebate, because we're still paying CenturyLink for the Prism up through May. So
Well, that's why the committee came out with the trials, free trials for people to look at.
Right.
And then set it up for
But
May
but
30th,
I think that really the people that really took us to heart are going to get penalized for this, because now they're stuck with paying for the monthly fee, and then they also are not going to. We're not going to be able to give them a rebate. And I'm fully in favor that once we get this ironed out, is whatever we pay for this speedy internet, the balance of that and the $56, I think it should go right back to the resident.
the adjustment
agreements.
So anyway,
Once we amend the budget and then we amend the assessments.
yeah, I mean,
It's not going to be April 1st.
No, it's not.
We have to manage
It's not.
expectations though too.
It's not. So I really would not be in favor of signing that, because I think we're heading in the direction I don't think we want to be heading.
signing, Bob? We're not signing any commitment.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
But I
matter.
guess this is my question.
It doesn't
So we
matter.
put out a survey and said, who is interested in just internet, just cable, or internet and cable?
Okay,
And wait a second. The majority of the people said, I'm interested in internet and cable. Regardless, we didn't have full information.
And
We're
price
not
was a
committed-
factor in that
We're
decision.
not committed to going forward with it. I think we're doing a disservice if we limit the amount of information that we
That we
gather.
access.
I can't imagine a situation that I'm gonna agree that we should move forward with Comcast. I just can't imagine that, but I think you need to have the information in order to weigh it up against the other options.
I think if we sign that, it just gives us the
What is-
the optics of that with all this first service thing. I think it gives us the wrong optics.
So my question back to the 25% commission, who's doing the negotiation on this contract? Is that handled through First Service? So First Service is doing all the legwork
There's no negotiating
for
at all?
this.
Yeah, it's a pre-negotiated program through First Service that I believe it started back in 2017, and the reason we're able to get the better rates and higher door fees is because we're able to leverage 8,000 associations
Right, the
nationwide.
purchasing power.
The practice of associations using a consultant when it comes to these kinds is a very, very common practice. I've had other associations that have used consultants, and at the very minimum, it's a 25% of the door fee, and the door fees are normally not this high in my experience in those. I remember, I talked to Kathy several weeks ago where she had a resident that she ran into where,
Spectrum in New
where
York.
he had an association in New York, and they use a consultant, and it was 30%.
It was 30%.
There's others where it's a percentage
For a condo
plus a monthly
association.
residual percentage. And so when you're involved in a consulting action like that, then and this is all that is an acknowledgement of that. It's all it is an acknowledgement.
Right, so I take it that it's if we
Should.
decide,
Right.
if we decide that Comcast is the right solution and we want to go forward with it, then First Service would get that 25% of the door fee. If we sign this and they come back and we say, you know what, Comcast isn't the right option for us, there was no risk. It didn't cost us anything to do
Prior
that.
to the annual meeting, my conversations with Kathy when she as president was, Again, look, you're welcome to go and negotiate it yourself. I mean, go to whatever company you want, negotiate with Comcast directly what you want. Doesn't matter. So this is just an option that we bring to the table that, we want to make sure that you at least know that we have it available for you. And you're welcome to do whatever you want.
And I think those are just those two pieces that we need to separate. Right now, we are in research. We're not in implementation. We're not, once we've picked a service, how much is that going to cost? Right now, we're gathering the information to be able to make educated decisions. And that's my take on it. There's no risk involved with it. It's not committing us to doing anything. And if anything else, when we get this information back and we put it up against the others, it makes it that much clearer what the right decision is. Because you have all the information in front of you. You have all the options. And I just don't see it as any risk to
Somebody's gonna have to show me a downside, because I just see it as having this in our back pocket if we need it at some future point. Even to compare prices, cost comparisons, things of that nature.
And technical specs.
Yeah, there's,
If it's something that they're offering, we can then demand it in another company, Hotwire, pick another one we're looking at.
I think, we're working through this process, and I think that there comes a point where you're going to start to eliminate things that you're not interested in, and I think that to hang this on as a potential thing, I don't think it's something we're interested in. So let's try to narrow this field down. I mean, we're doing a lot of talking about what kind of things we want and here and that, but, people would like to get this solved, and so this is not an option that I think we even think about.
Yeah,
any other discussion?
Yeah, I do agree. I think that cable as an option really should not even be on the table. What's going to happen with Comcast in 5 years? Is it going to
Even less than 5
is it
years,
going to
probably.
disappear, and then we're going to be in the same exact position we are? I have to agree. I just have a problem. And then the 25%. You said the negotiations were done in what year? With the
So the
Comcast?
program originally started, I think they originally started putting that program together in 2017.
Okay.
Again, that is when the program was originally established. But as far as negotiations are constantly updated and redone on a routine basis between Comcast and our corporate entities.
Lori, I certainly don't want to make a statement to our residents right now. We've taken bulk completely off the table and we're going streaming, because we don't know that.
No.
We don't know that yet. So by saying that, you're telling them we're never going to go into a bulk agreement. And that's not a true statement at this point in time.
But we are,
So I
if
think-
we don't sign that, we are basically saying we're taking Comcast
Well,
off
we're
the
taking
table.
Comcast out of the picture.
I think
Absolutely.
we need to. I don't think it's popular.
I guess the
We have
only other
same
thing-
stuff that CenturyLink had, and CenturyLink is gone because it's obsolete. So how long is they gonna be on there?
These
Well, they're
these
obsolete.
licensures that they have for these different stations require them to have a certain number of customers. We are a 1,425 community customer HOA, so we're very enticing. This builds their base. That's why they're interested in giving you a door fee and enticing you to get this stuff. Everybody's fading out of these things. Their numbers are going down, and so the reason they're willing to pay you a door fee is that they're trying to keep those numbers up so they can support these licenses. So I think that we have an opportunity now to get towards streaming. I think educate ourselves and jump in the water and let's go for it.
I think you just have to be careful that we are looking into all options for residents. It's for us to be making decisions before we have the information and like I said, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Comcast, but I'll go back to when we were doing an RFP. If we said we're going to do an RFP and we're not going to include Pope because we want to move forward, you know how much backlash we would have heard? It wasn't until we had all these RFPs and we had all the options that you could look at and say, okay, this is what we have, this is where we think we should go, and this is why we think we should go there. If we just took that out, people would have said, well, see, you should have stuck with what you had. You have to show them, if we do this, this is what we're going to get, and it's going to cost us. If we do this, this is what we're going to get, and what it's going to cost us. If we don't sign this and we don't even get the information, we've already set people up to disagree with whatever choice we go forward with.
I would like to make a comment about the survey. The survey was given to people without any dollar figures attached to it. I think now, everybody now knows that, if you go to these other things, that there is a dollar. I think if you want to do a survey and give these people information so they can make an intelligent decision, I think we should maybe think that. But I don't think the survey that we had provided enough information for anyone to make a decision, because they're under the impression that I want everything and I don't want you to charge me anything. Another thing that I think
That's not a fair statement.
it is a fair statement.
No, well, when you finish, I'll address it.
I also think that we need to think about our budget. Part of being a HOA is the fiduciary responsibility of the budget. If we go to any of these things that is over $56, we are then do not have the money in the budget, and we are going to change how much people are going to have to pay in an HOA fee. It will go from $600, if it's $20 to $75. That's $20 per month, so that would be $60. So you pay $660 per quarter. I think as an HOA, we need to keep our costs down, and why would we obligate ourselves to something that's not even in the budget, and we're going to assign to every single person that you're going to now pay $660, for example, instead of going down to pay $500 and a quarter.
But you're at implementation phase again. This is the information gathering.
But and then let me just say something else, is that when you do a survey, if you didn't get a response from somebody, I think that you need to, they're not really interested in TV, so you put them in the group that, they're not interested in the bulk package. So take 1425, put all those that wanted something, that did not say that they wanted a bulk package, and then you've got a truer number is actually how many people really wanted a bulk package.
What was the total number of responders to that survey?
I want to say 400, 500.
So 500 out of
Might have been about a
1,425
homes.
It
is
was.
pretty small.
And the reason of the survey was a pulse check. It wasn't a decision.
Right.
It wasn't a vote. It was a pulse
It
check.
was a
We
survey.
need to start going out and looking at some options. If everybody came back and said, nope, I don't want anything to do with any sort of bulk, then we'd say, okay, take cable out. We'll go with just streaming. But that isn't the results we got.
Right.
And there's no risk in us
But
gathering.
your survey did not address this in a manner in which you could make an intelligent decision. It addressed it in
Because
a...
we haven't
No.
The
contracted.
intelligent
Well,
decision was these
we
are the
haven't
options.
had-
it was not a valid evaluation of the subject.
I disagree. So we saw from proposals that for a similar bulk package, we saw that the industry standard is a minimum of 100. So right now you're paying 56, 57, whatever, for 40 MPBs. So now what we got from Hotwire, Blue Stream in their proposals, again, no contract, no negotiations. It was between like $69 and $74. So we did say that a bulk package at a minimum of 100 MPBs and 80 plus channels, whatever, would be approximately $70. If you were to buy it as an individual, it would amount to over $230. We did show costs for a similar type bulk package without referencing this one, that one, or that one, working from the proposals.
I still think that the numbers, it may be 70% of 400. It could be far less if you have out of 1,425 more people. I don't like that statistically.
If we come back and we say we're going to take cable off the table, we're going to take Comcast off, we're not going to talk about TV, and we say, okay, let's get some RFPs, let's get some proposals for fiber, and fiber is going to cost us $500,000. When we go out with those numbers and people say, I can't believe this is how expensive this was, we don't have anything else to point to say, well, if we had stayed, if we had gone even with Comcast, this is what they would have charged. So in comparison, this is what we're getting. We're taking away the option of having a comparison. I mean, we can debate this for hours as we go along. I don't know if it's something we want to wait to sign, or if, I don't know what you want to do, but there's no risk, and especially with the community listening to this, this is not signing a contract with Comcast. This is not doing that. This is signing something to say, you can give us accurate pricing, and if we choose down the road to go through Comcast, that First Service would end up
And
getting
the
a percentage
association
of that.
attorney did confirm that. That was sent over to the the committee asked for that.
Yeah, I think, in closing, then we'll call for the question, is that I think we have an obligation to get as much information in front of our residents as possible on costs, no matter what it is. And we're putting the cart before the horse. We're worried about tax implications, what this is gonna cost, et cetera. And it has nothing to do with signing this resolution. This resolution says, we'll agree to it if we go into a contract with you. In the meantime, give us some pricing, let us know what it's gonna cost, and give us a base of information. That's simply all it is. So at this point, I'd like to call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Oh, the motion fails due to a tie. I think we saw that coming. We'll move on. We'll most likely address that again in the future. The new business, the ARC request for roofing deposit change.
Yes, the ARC sent
Yes.
it in, that the $25 is standard for smaller projects, but they noticed that the roofing application, refundable, deposit was only 25, and they would like that to be 500, which would be standard for larger projects. So they're asking if the board, would make that change.
Discussion?
Pools and lanais are at 1,000 mark, and the $500 for the roof would protect the liability of neighboring properties, as well as assurance that they're going to do it correctly, rather than just simply losing the $25. There have been instances where ARC approval was not, what's the right verb? Sought?
Sought out.
Sought out, sorry. I realized when I started to say it, I didn't know what the right verb was. But this would, again, give us some level of assurance that they're going to make an honest effort to follow the rules. And
Right.
the $500 would then be held until the roof was inspected, and if it meets the requirements and the criteria of the design review guidelines, it would be refunded to the residents. It's not as large a project as the pools and the extended lanais, which is at $1,000, but the $500 is what the proposal is now for the roof replacement.
I think the key in what you're saying is that it's done correctly. And
Correct.
I think that's why we should go to the 500.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I
yes.
think that they'll need to have some skin in the game to make sure
Correct.
that
Right.
they're holding their contractors accountable.
Correct.
Any other discussion?
No.
Entertain the motion that we accept the fee change.
Aye.
All in favor? Opposed?
All right, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you on behalf of ARC.
The next one is in regards to resident applying and the application being tabled and applying again, and they sent in to the board in regards to requesting color change for the roof tile. The ARC, we asked for them to give us a little bit of a feedback of their thoughts on it to the board. The ARC members say no to the request to change the roof tile guidelines. There are aesthetics involved in the approval of roof tiles. Each street is a neighborhood, and we consider the neighborhood structures when making application decisions. The design review guideline for page 25, 5 review criteria, while the design guidelines are intended to provide a framework for construction modifications, the design guidelines are not all-inclusive. In its review process, the DR may consider the quality of workmanship and design, harmony of external design with existing structures and location in relation to surrounding structures, topography and finish, grade, elevation, among other things. DR decisions may be based on purely aesthetic considerations. Sandoval is a deed-restricted community with guidelines that need to be followed to maintain the cohesive appearance in place when residents purchase their property.
Right.
So essentially, they're asking for, to stay true to what's been in place historically.
Well, flat tiles, not tube tiles. I mean, we have flat tiles.
Flat tiles.
And I think there's
Not barrel. The initial request was for barrel
no,
tiles,
that,
and
I
that
think
was
it
denied.
should stay flat
Correct.
because we don't have any of the
Correct. Right, but that was the original, was the barrel, so that was denied. And now the color, they want to do their own thing, where that neighborhood, it's all such a similar.
Terracotta.
Yes.
You know, and there's variances among the
Right.
terracotta,
Yeah.
but
She just felt that the colors do not match the now change to having the pastel colors. And
She has to go with something that goes with it.
Well,
Go
I
with the
think
brown
each paint
family and that
color
family.
has a choice. I know in our neighborhood, there were two different tiles, and you know, and we pretty much have gone that, you know, any colors in any neighborhood can be utilized, not just restricted to each neighborhood. And I think that, you know, you could pass that on as to tile colors could go anything that's in Sandoval. If it matches the paint color, would be okay.
yeah, and there's extensive lists on file, both online and in the office. There's a book.
I mean, most
I
of your phase
verified.
3 are all the same color
Yeah,
tiles.
unfortunately.
But
Some are newer.
But really,
Yeah,
but if you picked a paint color from another neighborhood and its corresponding tile,
Right.
you could probably change your tile.
Right. But again, as the liaison to the ARC, I don't know about this situation other than the letter, but we've seen some really wild stuff, and it's not even close. So again, they try to, you know, direct them back to the information that's available, what the choices are, and again, take a look at your street and see what other options are out there.
Compare the paint and the appropriate tile for that paint color.
Does anyone
But the
wanna make
aesthetics
a
of the
motion to
neighborhood
change
is
would be the
key.
question, if anyone wants to make a motion to change the colors or not.
If you wanted to make I would say, to make this very simple, is that they were established tile colors for paint colors in each neighborhood, and if you changed your paint to a different color than what you had, and you wanted to change the tile, then it should be one of those that corresponds to what the paint color of that required.
I don't, the specific request here is just for her asking for a color. I would have to refer back to the ARC if there's a motion outside of something pertaining to this to get their feedback.
I mean,
would
this
say.
will be an ARC guideline that I would be recommending to you.
Yeah, I would recommend that the ARC probably give a feedback on that. This specific one is just specifically asking to start getting rid of terracotta ? And I think you guys all read that, so.
Roof colors shall be in warm earth tones. So there's choices there, and if you go again to the design review guidelines and you see what the options are, you'll see.
I think part of it was the fact it says pure white, orange, red, blue, and any bright colors are prohibited. And I think she is saying that terracotta is orange, and therefore I think that's part of the
there's
issue.
variances.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
but there's variances and
I think having it, making the motion that you said about having the colors match with the tile that's on file.
With the paint.
With the paint would be the best.
Okay, could you state that motion specifically, please, Don?
Okay, I would make a motion that in matching your roof tiles, it should be coordinated with the appropriate tiles in any neighborhood in Sandoval that to the corresponding house color, house paint color.
Which really opens up to a lot.
It opens it up to a lot, yeah. I mean, and on Stony Hill, we have several paint colors, and we have two different types of tile. One's a red, and one's more of a brown.
earth tones.
Yeah, exactly.
Back to earth tones.
I was going to say that, but you were talking.
So in matching your roof tile when choosing the color, you can pick any color within the community.
Any color
No,
that,
no.
any
No,
color
for
that
the house
matches the
color.
paint. The paint color, like we have 4 or 5 colors of paint on Stony Hill, and we have,
The package,
Right.
the combo.
It has to match
You can
the-
pick one of the combos
Correct.
anywhere you live.
Right.
That is similar to what's, yes, okay. got it.
So if somebody on Stony could pick something that Hopefield has, or?
yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah,
But
they
then,
looked at that
but then the
phase 3 and
tile would
phase
have to
2.
match what the
What the
Hopefield
choice
tiles
of
are.
the color for the
Okay.
But, and then what happens if they opt not to change the roof tile? And you're the neighbor next door and think it looks ridiculous.
You mean paint the house and leave the
So
roof
my
tiles
house
in?
now, let's just say my house now is green and my roof is gray, but if I go to, pick another color house and it's more earth tone than the grays, we can't mandate it.
Well, I mean,
Right?
the red and the earth tone are you could have that with any
It's pretty
paint color, any
consistent
paint
throughout.
color in
Yeah.
on
So
Stony.
if you pick a roof tile, you then, and your paint isn't already in that package, you would have to paint your house to match the roof tile to stay within the package.
No, I think that that's another complicating thing. So maybe what I'm saying is not going to work.
Because,
Because-
you gotta understand, this is far, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They are getting the ARC's feedback, because this is really,
Give it back to them.
okay,
But this is a suggestion.
okay.
I think what you're
I
saying
get
is,
what you're saying, and I'll give that to them,
Relay
we'll
it
get
back.
their
But you don't have to
feedback.
put a new roof on just
Right,
because you
right.
change your
Right.
paint
Right.
color.
No,
So
right.
let's
Right,
not
but
get
what
into
I'm
that.
saying-
Right, that, well,
Maybe
fair enough.
$3,000
That's
for a
very-
roof, because you're painting your house.
The best thing that helps the architecture review committee is specifics, and unfortunately, we get 3 different sideways questions.
Exactly.
So many different
Exactly.
ideas, and that's fine for residents, they need clarity, we
And
need
it
clarity.
tries to be general enough in the guidance, such as earth tones. And when you look at the options, some are more red, some are more brown, some are more orange, some are more creams and grays and beige. I mean, there's variances. It's not just orange.
So it's
You know.
more start with your roof. This is your roof, here's your color options.
Okay, so we'll get their feedback. So right now, does anyone want, we're not making a motion at this time to change any colors for, okay, thank you so much. I'll relay that back. There's one, this came in, after I had sent, this is from the ARC, and if it's too much right now, but I did say I'd at least provide it. Residents are applying for landscape curbing, and this is the recommendation from the committee. This topic currently does not have guidelines, and we are finding multiple types are being used in the community. Attached is the recommendation from our committee. We are asking that this be added to the board agenda. So I can forward and I can get your feedback via email in regards to this, but I did say that I would bring it up. Landscape curbing. Owners shall secure the DR's approval before installing landscape borders, stone, rock borders. I think the addition is ARC approval must be in place before any work associated with the installation of the borders begins. If any type of construction begins prior to the approval by the ARC, fines may be levied against the homeowner.
Well, you have some that are already present. You'd have to grandfather those.
Right.
Retained wall border blocks to support trees. This was the whole maximum height 15 inches. Colors are limited to tan, brown, or gray. Below is an example of a tree border.
But plastic and vinyl are not allowed, is what they're suggesting. Again, we want to try to make it look nice. People are just doing their own thing and,
I would
again,
say
trying
that.
to.
I agree with that.
Okay.
If this, I mean, if you're agreeable to this one, as well as the roof replacement, we can also, if you want to do a motion to approve the,
Have them
that
send
will
it
send
back
it.
and then we'll.
okay,
We can do like send it out for unanimous consent.
perfect, okay. I'll send it with the roof.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, levy fines and suspensions. The committee met, the Covenants Committee met, and they reviewed and had a hearing. The accounts that came back, recommendations for fines, were for, I'm going to read account number 15201 for $100 for not cleaning up after the pet. 15201, $100 for not having their pet on a leash. 02101, $100 for having excessive weeds in the yard. 38401, $100 for gate strike. 38501, $100 for gate strike. If someone wants to make a motion, if you're interested.
I'd like, point discussion on,
Okay.
the 2101 $100 fine for excessive weeds in the yard. I
Yes.
actually had a conversation, with the resident, the owner of the property, and I think, to leave it simple, we've got a lot of he said, she said, miscommunications, along the way on that. I respect the committee's decision for the fine, but I would think under the circumstances, I would make a motion to waive that $100 fine on this particular resident.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is this resident in phase 3? Is this resident covered under our down to earth contract?
No.
No.
It's
Okay, it's a
off of
personal
Vermont.
loans.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, good point.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that would, no, I think I would have already gotten that and had our landscapers resolve it.
I'm gonna write in a complaint. Good point.
I also read the correspondence that accompanied this, and I agree. I think it should be waived. There's too much on both sides.
Right, she said, he said,
Yeah.
went back and forth, so.
I disagree. The covenants allowed the individual, the resident, to come in and plead their case. And regardless, I wasn't there, I don't know what was said or wasn't said. The covenants, the process was followed, they made the recommendation to fine, so I support the fine. But I can be an exception.
I would as well, and I guess part of the reason is because I don't know who it is, and we're looking at account numbers, and I wouldn't want to start setting a precedent or have people feel that because they reached out to a specific board member that there's any preferential or anything like that. So that's just where I stand with it.
Don't give the name.
No,
I was gonna say,
John
that's why we
Smith.
do the case number. No, I didn't know what you were gonna do.
I was
That's-
looking for.
That's why we
For
do
the
the case
letters.
number.
I-
It's confident, we are,
Yeah, I know.
it's confidential.
I realize that. Would it be beneficial to?
No, we saw it.
Oh, you did see it?
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
Indeed. And I can say that, again, in my past capacity, I received a number of comments from residents that finally this was cleaned up, finally this roof was cleaned, finally this house, cut their lawn, finally. So our enforcement program is working. And people are happy that the program is back on track after it was neglected for,
Yes.
3 years? And I'm not putting fault on anybody. Aggressively since September, working with Kelsey to get this program up and running. Until the individual gets the violation letter, and then, the whining and complaining starts, and my roof isn't as bad as their roof.
And do keep in mind that on the other side of the border, you have your other residents saying that weeds are getting into their yard. So you have to look at it from, and I don't care either way either, because this is we're just doing our job that we're hired to do to enforce the covenants that you guys have for the association. But just keeping in mind that there are two sides to everything.
Has this yard been fixed?
For the weeds, so my understanding is that the covenants committee was given the address, they were given the photos, they were given the details, they were given the complaints that, they had corrected some items, they were given the complaints of the lack of response from a phone call back, and they were, again, you've seen one side of that situation, which is disappointing for management, because you have no idea of the profanity, you have no idea,
Yeah, but
so-
my
and I'm
question,
not-
my question is, from management's
covenants
point,
did.
have these weeds been
No.
eliminated?
No, from the compliance coordinator opinion and the covenants committee, no.
That makes a
So-
difference.
Yeah,
That makes a difference.
We have a
Well,
process.
that's a whole new ballgame.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a whole.
And the,
involved.
and the covenants, again, they have the information, they ask questions, they allow the person to defend, what transpired, what did or didn't.
They're very not partial, very
Absolutely.
fair. I don't go to them. They're very good. I think they're a good
I think
covenant. They could have fined up to $1,000, and so I think the board has changed that, which is which is good. So,
But I think because of the discussion just now,
Now
we
we
have a
feel
bit-
differently,
yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, so let's,
Yeah, I was under the impression it was,
I
Oh,
think
good.
we all were,
Okay.
that's why
Yes.
we said.
and
to
I
waive
think the
it.
covenants committee would have, if something's resolved until, but when the picture's taken that morning and then the weeds are mowed, so it looks now better.
Right.
A few hours later, it's
because
difficult.
they don't always take action to fine. They do,
No.
they do
Oh,
listen, they do ask for
There
supporting
were
documents.
there were a lot at that I should have. There was
They're
a
very
lot.
reasonable in their
Very.
efforts.
I'll
and should be
rescind my
and should be
motion.
commended.
Okay.
And I'm happy to see about the dogs not leashed and not cleaning up after the dog. That's
Yes.
huge too.
It's difficult to connect
Yeah.
address and figure out, but so hopefully that'll
So
help the community.
We need to
involved.
call for the question on,
Oh, sorry. Yes,
approving.
motion for approving
5, right? 5 cases?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I read.
Vote
Kathy.
yes.
Kathy, second,
I'll second it.
Melanie,
Okay.
all in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
All right, great.
Where discussion makes a big difference. Okay,
Okay.
opening the Board of Directors meetings to Sandoval residents. I'd like to make a motion that effective with our April meeting, that the meetings be conducted in one of the downstairs rooms. I've inquired with Maryland, those rooms are available. The cost of this room is $50. The cost of one of those rooms is $200 according to Maryland. We can videotape the meetings down there as well, but we also have room for plenty of residents to come to be able, like the old days, and sit in and still maintain social distancing and all that. And I think there's been an outcry from residents to, and I like having the residents in a room and being able to come to a microphone and be able to look to us face to face. And so I'm going to make a motion that effective next month, we take the meetings back to the residents in this building.
I second it.
Open any discussion or
And maintain the current schedule and time, 6 o'clock, the last Thursday of the month.
Anita?
Right.
Thank you. Second.
Yes, I second
Thank
it.
you.
Go ahead, sorry.
I just have a question. From a capacity standpoint, do we know what that capacity is?
I don't, but we'll get that out, we'll get that from,
Okay.
because we'll still need to do unless you're together, the
Right, yeah, just
chairs.
It's a big room, we looked at it.
Yeah, we went down.
Is it all the way connected? I know there's 2 doors on either side.
No.
There's a room on
No,
each,
there's one on,
separate.
Two different
there's one
rooms.
on.
two different rooms,
The one
It's the
at
whole
this end
way,
is
you know, it's
huge.
big.
Okay, okay,
right.
But we would still live stream.
Right.
Yeah.
Will they supply the chairs and
I was gonna say
everything?
set up breakdown. We'll have to look into
I
that.
don't
We
know.
can check with
Find out.
We'll
Maryland.
check into all that.
Maryland will
Yeah.
have to help. Yeah.
Okay.
I was under the impression it was a third-party vendor, the party room, but it wasn't part of the Kiwanis. Because this was all that was offered to us, was this was
Right.
the only,
Yeah, according to
and
Maryland,
for 10
Maryland,
people, it's adequate.
Right,
This is
it's
fine.
fine.
yeah.
Maryland Stout told me that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they use a third-party vendor to rent out to weddings and parties, but Monday through Thursday, they rent it out through the Kiwanis.
Because we've been
So-
there and they've been setting up for stuff
Yeah.
and doing stuff, so we didn't get
As
involved,
long
other
as we
than,
can schedule it out, that it's the same time
Yeah,
and
we're-
stuff,
yeah.
well,
And we only have to schedule it out far enough to when our,
The clubhouse.
the second building's up and running.
yeah, this
when we
room is
start.
reserved through July.
Yeah,
I
right.
coordinated that with
Right.
her, with Casey.
And when do we anticipate, Dawn, the second building?
Summer, Summer, do yourself a favor.
July 4th, so we could have.
Summer.
It's gonna be done on the first chance we get.
Great answer.
Summer.
So all in,
Because summer's very
Take
long
you
down
September
here.
20th.
all in favor
Will be Labor Day.
on the motion? Any opposed? Great, I'm sure the community will be happy to hear that.
And the budget does allow for, there's a line
Meeting,
item for
yeah.
meetings.
Meeting
so-
expenses.
Meeting expenses.
And it won't go over that budget.
Okay, the next is our, as you know, we have a vacancy on the board with Al resigning, and we need to fill that vacancy, and I think we'd like to do that tonight, so I would entertain a motion for that.
I'd like to nominate Ron Spooner to fill Al's vacated board seat for the balance of the term. I think many of you know he was, on the board for consistency, continuity, relevance. He brings a lot to the table. He was the highest vote getter ever, I believe, with elections as an elected officer. And he has confirmed with me that he will accept the nomination for the 1-year balance of Al's term through March of, 2022?
Yeah, we've been in contact with him also to take it, if we voted on it.
And the two other candidates, Jeffrey and Marilyn, we reached out
And Carol.
Well, we've had a
No,
couple.
no, the other
of
two.
the
Sorry.
election, but they,
Jeffrey had
Number
taken
4 and
on,
5.
Jeffrey had taken on other commitments.
okay, because he would have been the next one.
Right, Marilyn did still have interest. I'm not sure, since,
More, it would be more that next vote, you know what I mean? Like, if we had 4 seats available, who would have been that person? I just want to make sure we're not skipping over to be able to.
But I think there are also 2 other people who expressed an interest in
Right.
applying for the position, and I
They
think
could
we
have
have.
run. They could have run for the board, right?
They could have, but we asked for solicitation, we solicited people to put their wish in to be on the board after the election, and I think we at least should entertain all of the candidates. There's Ron, Carol Torello, John Elkin, Marilyn. Is there anyone else?
But there has to be a nomination from the floor
Yeah.
to nominate
Let's
them.
nominate them
To have the discussion.
and to discuss them.
Well,
I'll nominate Carol Torello.
well, I have a nomination on the floor already.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My nomination was Ron Spooner.
If we have
I second
second,
that.
Thank you.
need a second.
vote after, you've discussed it, do you want to vote on it now, or you want to
Because we
discuss
vote on it
further?
now, then it eliminates any other nominations.
Right. Motion's on
You
the
would have
floor.
to vote or either withdraw the motion.
Yeah, motion's on the floor. Do you want to take a vote?
Well, the only concern that I have with Ron is that I've tried to reach out to him, and he's promised to call, and he hasn't, and that concerns me. And I mentioned that to Melanie, that I had to have confirmation from him, and he did not return the calls to me. He promised me a couple times, and he didn't, and that's concerning to me, because I think that when he's here, but when he's not here, and if he had reached out to me, I would have a different feeling about
It was
that.
spring break.
But I'm very concerned that if he accepts the position, that is he going to be able to be here, and will he return calls? I think
he's proven that he's committed, and that
Absolutely.
the amount, I'll just
Skill
even
set
say
he
it,
brings.
the amount of work that he personally took on over these last 2 years has been a tremendous amount from this board. And,
Absolutely.
there's been several projects that wouldn't have moved had he not been the spearhead for it. And especially, even just going through some of this earlier when we were kind of like looking at some of these committees,
Right.
even Dawn, you had said, it
Oh,
wasn't
no.
Al and yourself were really just bystanders on that committee. They were really leading it.
Actually, the major driving force of that committee is Dave Hiller. He has provided the most information, has been the most
Accurate?
most effort, absolutely the most effort. There is absolutely no question about it, hands down. If you want to give someone a pat on the back, and if that project is going to go forward, it'll be because of the efforts of Dave Hiller.
Yeah.
I agree with
I'm
you.
not necessarily.
Ron brings a skill set that we need, and from a continuity standpoint, the Taylor Morrison litigation, the risk management committee, the street paving, the assisted living facility, he was instrumental in all of that. He's willing to take on this additional responsibility. He returned my call. I know it was spring break last week.
was
I'm just
away.
saying.
He was away.
I would have an entirely different
Email
opinion
from
if he had
Email.
returned my
May I,
call.
may I just read something that Ron wrote? He said,
If it's your email, I've read it.
Okay, but just for everyone else's clarification, I have been a bit hands-off with everyone because I do not want to influence the decision. Okay, I have not responded to anyone else on the board. So I think he was.
I spoke to him today
Yeah,
to get his confirmation
Confirm
right,
that he would
right,
accept the
right,
nomination.
right.
Okay,
And-
I've
Yeah,
spoken to him
absolutely.
twice, maybe in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and there hasn't ever been a time where I've reached out to him and said, hey, I really need to talk to you, and he hasn't gotten back. You know, like everybody, you get busy, and I know he didn't want to be, you know, in a position where he was influencing anybody's decision. So,
I think that's exactly.
you know,
exactly
he
it.
was probably like, let everybody to decide, but we've never had a board meeting where hasn't been present. You know, I mean, even times
on the
where he
call.
was,
And I think
was sick and he
his
would call
background is impeccable.
Absolutely.
And I really think
He's well
he brings
respected.
a wealth of knowledge,
Absolutely.
of past board interactions.
Experience.
And I agree.
And from a liability standpoint, you know, he really has helped us see different aspects of things, you know, from a
With
community
management as well, I don't
standpoint.
want to step on and involve, but just absolutely huge.
Liability
He was
aspects.
the, you know, liaison for Jerry and myself, but just being extremely hands-on and very helpful in all these categories. Initiated the paving project, you know, just very involved.
I think it sounds like we're ready to call for the question.
Okay.
All in favor of electing Ron Spooner? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
are you abstaining? Or?
You
Abstaining because he did not call me.
Okay.
All right. You have that for the record, right?
Very simple.
You have
Okay,
that for the record?
next is speeding and not stopping at stop signs, the
Right.
topic.
I'd like to propose forming an ad hoc committee to take a deep dive into the traffic violations, excessive speeding, stop signs, parking, it's getting worse and worse
Can we make this,
every month.
can we task the standing committee security with this? As a suggestion?
We could,
Okay.
I don't want to overload, that's too much on the, because I really would like a deep dive on this, but I'm not opposed to that, but I think we got other issues that the security, and maybe make that a security and safety type committee, but this really Don's favorites, maybe we need speed bumps,
No, we don't.
You're gonna get letters. You're gonna get letters. You're gonna get emails.
I'm just throwing out, is it speed bump, is it stop signs, is it, what is it that we need to do with
That was
radar?
touched at length
Yeah.
at liaison meetings, and it was.
Yeah, well, but if
Right.
there's, we can put a
Yeah.
group together, solicit a group of law enforcement, current and former law enforcement people that live in our community. Some I've talked to that would be happy to serve on this committee, so I would like to have the approval to form this committee, get them up and running, do an in-depth study, and come back to us with recommendations on how we can just slow the pace down here, traffic-wise in the community.
You gonna make a motion for that?
Make a
Yeah,
motion to,
okay. You want to second the motion?
So what motion, let's hear the motion.
to form an ad hoc committee to study traffic violations and other moving vehicle violations in the community.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. All in favor? Thank you.
So we'll go out with the solicitation and,
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have to send out, and then we'll need a board liaison. Anyone wants to?
I'll volunteer to
Okay,
be the,
Gary will be the liaison for that. Thank you.
that's my background, so. The next is very similar.
let me just share this with you. We made some preliminary, due diligence, looked at stuff. There's some people that we talked to and what some of their positions was.
Oh, okay,
And I think that Cape Coral, it might be worth our while to bring him into the community for like a town hall.
like, perfect. Thank
You
you.
gave me the name, the traffic.
And then I could probably give you we got First Service Residential and Pope Property, what they've done for speeding.
Sure.
We have some background.
Well, that's what we need to do.
If
We
you
need
don't
to
mind,
look
I'll
at
just shoot
what
it
are
to
other
you.
communities doing? That's when I talk about a deep dive. you know.
Yeah.
So,
But
thank-
those are some good
I think
points
the
of
big thing
contact
is
we
like
talked
cost
to.
and stuff
Well,
to evaluate, that'd be awesome.
cost is everything.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, moving right along in the same direction is, I'd like to propose forming an ad hoc committee to do a deep dive on Envira. Not only their contract, are they fulfilling their contract? Are they fulfilling the duties that, we get myriad of complaints, all of us, on people getting let in that shouldn't be let in, and tying that in with the gate strikes, because it's all works together, and having a group, again, do a study of how's Envira performing at other properties, you know, what can we do to improve? Far too many gate strikes. We all can come in almost any day and one of those gates, arms are broken. And we know for the most part it's because most of the time it's a resident or somebody that is impatient trying to come in. But there may be, you know, is there a better method as we start to phase out of this Envira contract? How many years are left in that, you know?
I do not know.
I think it's 2022, isn't it?
I think it's like 2, I think.
I'll give you guys,
Yeah.
I'll send you an
Can we
email with the
include
contract.
cameras too?
Cameras, yes.
The
yeah.
effectiveness of the cameras
Right.
that are currently operating and the need for possibly
Right.
exit lane cameras?
And that kind of went in with the gate strikes, but
Okay.
yes, I mean, we'll make sure that's added in there.
And I'm not sure if this is too far out of the scope that you're thinking, but I've come across, like, with trying to get these bars, the lights replaced, or they will only give you certain types, and then it's like $1,000 for this bar, and then you have a bar that's working, but you don't have the lights, but they won't do it, only Bose will do, you know, all
Right,
that.
that's, we need
Okay.
that whole in-depth study.
Cost and all
Right.
that, versus what we're collecting.
Right.
Okay.
So the first thing would really be to look at the Envira contract in depth to see what they really need to be doing.
Right,
what we-
are they doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Obligations,
Right,
obligations,
yeah.
and are they meeting
And
them?
then what other options would we have out there moving forward? I'd like to see if we have somebody in our community that's a access control professional that deals in access control, doesn't necessarily have to be Kate's, but, or engineers in the community that, can look at this and say, you know, there's a better way.
I'll just make a comment that in the ordinance that was approved by the city at the Pine Island Gate, one of the things in that ordinance is that there will not be a gatehouse.
Not be a gatehouse, right?
Not be a gatehouse.
No, I'm not
So
proposing.
I just
Yeah,
want to say that out loud, so you got it for the
It needs a
record.
bathroom, it needs air
Unless we wanna
conditioning.
talk about $300,000 a year to put guards at 3 gates.
Right.
24 hours a
And,
day.
but I get that suggestion all the time.
I didn't want you to get that led into that,
No,
because
I'm an old guy.
that is by ordinance, no gatehouse.
It's important for the community to hear that.
Right, right. That's not, guards are not the answer.
Does anyone want to second that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Any other discussion? And you can get the solicitation out for that, Casey, if this carries. All in favor?
How about a board liaison?
I'll take,
Gary?
unless somebody else, Kathy, unless you want it,
I'm gonna stick with my 2 committees, and I have risk management, so
anybody else? Want to take that?
just for
since nobody-
Casey's sake, it's helpful.
Raising their hand, I guess I'll take it. Okay, the next piece of new business is opening the clubhouse lobby. And basically, what I'm proposing here for discussion is, clubhouse is kind of a misnomer, opening the office, basically unlocking the door of the office where people don't have to knock on the door, they don't have to have an appointment to come in. They still have to wear a mask, they still have to maintain social distancing. We can still limit the number of people that can be inside, you know, the office. It is a small area, so we don't want
But
to.
for official business only,
For official business,
yes.
right.
not coming in and unzipping and going and seeing the construction.
No, that's
Or looking for coffee.
basically
Go find it now.
should be don a hard hat and
No, because
closed shoe area
aren't
anyway,
aware
so.
to
Yeah,
what degree
that's
it's
right.
shut out.
Yeah.
Or shut down.
Right.
And it's a huge, with the construction, Don will tell you, there's a huge liability to us if people are parading around up
Right.
there.
No,
And,
but if, I think
People are there anyway.
there, no way they need to pull the zipper down and go in
Right.
the back, because no one's allowed back there unless I'm going
but
there
they
to
have,
look
but
at
they
stuff.
have
but-
pulled the zipper down and gone back.
Well, then we need to put a sign there,
Right.
off limits.
Well, they're
It's
gonna
a-
do it regardless of if the office is open or closed, that's
Oh.
not gonna
Right.
deter them from doing that.
That's a hard hat.
Yeah.
That's
Closed
right.
shoe area.
Well, how would
That's,
they
that's,
You mean,
Yeah.
to go,
I-
where are you talking about, inside the
Inside the
building?
reception
Oh,
area.
Yeah.
I think we,
But the other concern now too is, with the construction, they're getting ready to rip up the floors.
right,
well, that's not gonna
That's in
happen
May.
till
That's in
May.
May.
Kathy, not only that,
It's
people
the optics
will,
of it.
I don't think it'll be a problem if you have to close the reception area and the offices for the period of time for the construction. But to have it closed now when there really is no need, CDC guidelines do not say we have to be locked up. We don't have to make appointments. I think it's a leap of faith for us to open up the community and let the residents come in without appointments. The business hours say from 9 to 5.
Right.
We should honor that.
They also say Monday, Wednesday, Friday needs to
Correct.
be for specific things,
But-
and that way,
right.
you know, understand the workflow. And I have no problem as far. I don't feel like the space is. It's going to be a little bit hectic when we have to close and open and close and open. But that's fine.
But you also have 2 staff members working in the lobby, so
We lost
maintaining
an
that
office.
social distancing.
So we have an office in the lobby and then
Yeah.
there. But you're well aware of it because
two.
you've
Yes,
all been in there.
right.
And so
Well,
I,
and then
But
if you would listen to what I said with the Clubhouse report, if we move the office for those 2 weeks to the big gym area, that can be very well spaced out, and they could still come in the back door to get their pictures and their ID, everything that they need. I don't think that we need to shut them off even during
No.
that. It's just a shift.
Right.
Let's
Well,
be
we
accommodating.
thought maybe they were going to be working from home.
I haven't
that
had
was
much
3 months ago
information.
when
Yeah,
we
they
thought
told
of
me like I let Eric
They
know
all
it was
have the
months ago. We
capabilities
got to
to
pack
work
up
from
this
home.
weekend. They're going to do it, and so it doesn't. We'll work from anywhere. We're workhorses. I mean, we don't stop. But we do have to not completely interrupt the workflow process. We will do our due diligence as it's open, and we'll pay attention to what if things start getting behind, because residents do enjoy, and we love the residents, come in anytime. So we just have to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, our specific days for, specific things.
That's
And
fine,
that way
right.
you have a day where you go, I may actually get some actual work done outside of those walk-ins. You have the ARC applications, you have the parking passes, you have the new people that just purchase. And we take people in all the time. I don't think it's going to be a big shift for us at all. The phone never stops ringing and people never stop coming in the door.
But I think it will just ease the
Sure.
displeasure of having to knock on a door to gain
It
access
adds
to.
customer service.
It's, yes.
And to
Listen.
make an appointment just to see somebody.
Yeah.
And if you're, I know it's a tight space, but you can really put an X here, put an X 6 feet away, that allows 2 people,
We
we
have an obligation to do that.
And that's-
to
I
have
think
a
that's
safe
fine.
work environment for the staff.
I think that's fine.
And the whole effort, and again, I'm a little defensive here. The whole effort was to limit the foot traffic because as well as I know, people would congregate and just hang out.
But that was mainly
That was
because
when
of
there
the
was
activities.
cars in there,
When people
people
were
going
walking
in,
through,
yeah.
people actually coming in for business.
But
Was
also
not that
going in
great.
and just shooting with Jerry or Carol and, that stuff. I mean, they have work to do. So-
Yes, that's fine. And I think that
But things have changed, I agree.
I think it will do wonders.
We'll have to manage that.
right.
Exactly. But, but again, social distancing and masks
Right.
required. And that protects your staff.
Yeah.
And the residents will be very happy with that.
Yes.
It's been bothering them.
They haven't been wearing masks, so that's an issue.
But
It may,
neither-
yeah.
But-
I won't say
And
You
that.
can have
having,
staff, because I've been in there when the staff haven't had
Yes,
masks, so
I've known
it
that.
works both
Can
ways.
I make a comment to that? We wear our staffs, our mask off, and I heard another comment when you guys were in there, a comment. We we social distance, and if I'm social distancing in my office, I'm not gonna have my mask on.
Absolutely.
If you come in, I put my mask on.
Yes,
but
you do.
I'm not gonna wear it when Kelsey's over here, Yanglu's over here. Nicole has that plexiglass, so she doesn't
Correct.
have to wear a mask. So, we're very social distance. It's not, oh, look, they don't have to wear their mask, but we do. Please,
Again, it's a
we're in
liability
there for
issue.
8 hours. It's gonna come off if I'm socially distanced.
And I'd like to add to that motion that we'd make this effective Monday. Give you a day to prepare for it.
Yep,
Is that plenty of time?
you can do it tomorrow. I don't care.
I'll second you.
But I would like to properly send a message
Yeah, I
out
like
to the
to, so you have
residents.
time to talk to your
Right.
staff.
And with
and
the
maybe
restrictions,
We need to get floor placards or
Yeah,
whatever.
and it's,
with
And
the
we need to get-
restrictions of Monday,
We need to
Wednesday,
get
and
the
Friday.
message out to the
the-
community too.
yeah, was the motion second by, sorry, thank you.
Anita.
Okay,
Very good.
Any other discussion? All in favor? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on, new business to the towing issues. But I asked to put this on. I would just, the memorandum came out with the pictures with the towing, caused a lot of confusion, a lot of anger. I would like to table towing until we've had a chance to study, a little bit more. I'm not a huge fan, nor do I think we may be opening ourselves for liability, and somebody correct me if you think I'm wrong, but towing a car off somebody out of somebody's driveway.
Yeah, how did that
Yeah.
picture get on there? Where did that come from?
the rules and regulations that the association has, those are from a parking rules and regulations. That's strictly from
I
there.
mean, the one that
It's
created a
nothing that's-
firestorm is the guy's driveway, and he's parked
And
on
he's
the
parked
grass
just
Was
over
that
it.
for towing, or was that for a violation?
Towing.
Well, you would get stickered a warning. This is
I think
from
that was an overreach
from
myself.
the association's towing rules and regulations.
Okay.
It says no parking on the grass, and I would say the landscape committee could they are hesitant to replace some of the grasses because of the amount of grass that's being parked on. So yes, the driveways is a scary thing to
Right.
tow out of a driveway
Mhm.
for.
Yeah.
But maybe when they burn
Parking
out
on
the
the
grass,
grass.
then they get a violation for,
Violations are one thing, towing is another.
I think it's like this. Okay, so you're allowing parking on the grass. Yes. Okay, how much? A whole car can be on the grass?
You could have a compliance violation for that, but not a towing.
Right, no.
So
Not
if
a
some,
towing.
I'm totally again. This is just
I think
from
again,
management having clear
the
direction.
devil's in the details. All right, so I have my driveway. My car is in my driveway. I have 2 guests visiting me, and the one guest is parked in front of my neighbor's house, half up on the grass, almost at the sidewalk, and blocking the post office box, the mailbox. That's a violation.
Yeah, absolutely.
That requires a tow.
Right.
You're wearing
2 cars now parked in my driveway where one may have a tire, 2 inches on the grass is the issue that you're raising, towing
Right.
from a driveway.
Driveway, yeah,
Parking
absolutely.
on the grass, the dog park. I went by the dog park in phase 3 the other day, and there were 3 cars parked on the grass. And there were spots
why we put
still,
the parking lot in.
but there's still, then there was room, but it was that happy hour time where there's a big group. And there were 3 people, again, parked on the grass.
Well, that's a violation.
And I
Absolutely.
agree. I agree.
I mean, that's why we built the parking lot, because
I
not
agree.
only that, it's a safety issue. If they open the door, the dog runs out, the dog gets hit, or the person
Unleashed,
gets hit.
yeah.
Well, and then the way it was kind of presented was, I actually had a resident call me and say, what's the number of the towing company I call when I want them to come out and tow a car? I'm like, you can't call as a resident and have a car towed.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I had
the
a couple-
perception was, we'll just call towing, and tow truck driver's gonna ride around hooking cars up all night long, and,
Yeah, I had a couple of
so I
those
just
too.
think we
Yeah,
need,
in the first line it says management and security
Yeah.
will
Right.
tow. So we'll
Agreed.
and right now,
But we do have.
we don't have security overnight, but you can tow if your car is on the street. Well,
But
we haven't so the last board meeting prior to the election board meeting, it was
April
send
28th.
out the communications and then
Like
the
an
towing
education
for
campaign.
the residents that are frustrated with those that are parking crazy, different.
Right.
We have no teeth. Like, those people are gonna get a sticker, and then they're gonna go right back and do it.
Right.
Because there's no consequence right now. Because
And we see repeat violators. There's houses, party houses, rental houses, that every week we used to
we
get
have a lot of
complaints.
residents that are frustrated.
You know, every Thursday night, every Friday night, there's 3 cars parked in the street, blocking their driveway, in front of their mailbox, in front of the fire hydrant. You know, there's like maybe 5 or 6 homes where this is an ongoing issue. When are you gonna start towing? When are you gonna start towing?
Well, if we sticker them, can't we fine them?
It's not that easy. They'll move the car, and then when you go back, they're in compliance. And then you go back and, they have, again, there's nothing in place that says just because they got a sticker, they get a fine. It's a process. You have a notice, you have to go to the hearing, you have to go through all of that.
When you sticker, what kind of sticker, what do you use?
If you have a pic,
We have 2, it depends on we have one that's easy to peel off, and the pain in the butt one that's a pain in the butt one.
Yeah, I mean, what I have found to be effective if you're not gonna tow, because the biggest thing is you wanna create a nuisance for them to not wanna do it again. Those stickers
That don't come off.
That come off in these little shards, I mean, you can get them where they're this big, you can get them where they're this big.
Right.
You put it on the
and people
windshield, right?
absolutely
Front
hate
of
it.
the
That might be a
And-
deterrent to
And
people doing it
I
a second
do,
What was
time.
on
my
your
experience is
street?
that has become a
The white
deterrent
one?
for that kind of
Obstacle
stuff,
course.
because
The
it
white
creates
car
an
that had the
overwhelming
sign, please do
nuisance
not
for
tow,
them.
no license plate.
We have a
You know,
stack
for
of
doing
stickers.
that, and they
We
think
have
you
used
about
this
it.
big.
No, by
They
me,
usually
not
come in
you.
the office, all upset, hollering, screaming.
let's have one
And then
conversation.
neighbors are
please.
like,
And
why
then
are you
it's,
towing this?
you know, they come in the office hollering, screaming, you know, why would you, it's, you know, I've had these conversations with residents when I've managed communities, and I'm, you know, kind of leave it as, you know, are you, you know, you're not gonna wanna do this again after having to deal with that sticker, are you? Okay, well, that was the purpose of it. But it did keep your vehicle from, you know, the other option we would've had would've been to tow the vehicle. I think you prefer this one better. And, but yeah, the type of sticker you're using, create that nuisance.
And my point getting back to, if we put a sticker on, take a picture of the vehicle, the license plate, and where it's parked, I think that's plenty enough, whether they move the car or not. It was a violation this time.
That's
and then,
not what the rules specifically state. So they have an opportunity to, you don't have anything like you have the code of conduct or something like that. When someone is verbally abusive and cursing, that they go to the hearing committee right away. They don't have any, go check and see if it's a violation. You have all these vehicles that it's happening maybe at night. Okay, tomorrow night it's fixed. They're in compliance.
Well, you're saying that you couldn't fine someone for speeding because you'd have to catch them twice.
Well,
I mean,
consistently,
that makes no sense.
right.
I mean,
So.
well, this I think is clearly it's a violation. I mean, I don't see
I'm
the.
having trouble.
You would just
wrapping
need
my
to
arms around.
implement something that says an immediate $100 fine for any parking violations. You would have to change, I'm not sure on what level, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then that would be,
You would have to amend the policy, and is that something that's a amendment to your declaration, or can you
Right.
do that by resolution, so?
It depends whether it's.
so then the other
Yeah, but
thing
you
is,
just have to-
If it's in the design, the ARC, as a compliance issue, then it's not. But if it's in, the bylaws, that's entirely different.
so the other issue is
I don't
this.
think it's
You have
required.
somebody that does not care, okay? Let's say the home is foreclosed. Let's say the person doesn't even know someone's parking illegal, whatever the case might be. We're sending out a letter. We're sending out a letter with the hopes of then going back and catching them. We go to those covenants committee, or Kelsey does, with photos, backing up documentation, so we've done all of our homework, it's right there. So if you have someone that doesn't care, they're just going to that, you're not getting the problem resolved, and if it's a liability in the street, like there's a trailer, there's a resident, this person comes every Thursday night between X time and X time. So they're concerned that it's a safety issue. That letter is, you're not doing anything about the safety issue for X amount of time. And it's the same thing with the appliances. We say, something that puts it into place where you want an immediate result, it's not gonna be our letter.
Well, I think we need to.
I think you bring that information that you're citing so that we can read it.
It's Jerry's it's the same.
I'll just email it to you guys.
It's Jerry.
Yeah.
We've sent it out, the towing. And
The
then
towing the parking and
specifying
towing.
though with the grass, I agree, you know, we're not gonna go, that puts a lot of liability on everybody.
Right, that was,
But
can't-
you saying you can't park more than a tire on a grass, you could say that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine a situation where we can tow from somebody's driveway if they're on the grass or not. You know, like we could probably violate, or, you know, like you're saying, we can try to document it and see. But towing from a driveway, I think, would be,
Yeah,
That's a stretch.
yeah.
yeah. You're gonna, some ugly
I
things.
mean, if you hadn't had that one
happening.
picture on there, I don't think you'd have had any
Right.
issue, but that one picture just was
Everybody caught that.
extremely inflammatory.
but we do have to be able to define, okay, if you're gonna park on the grass, how much? Because we've had people literally park in their front yard.
Yeah, we're
Like
giving
you're on the
examples of,
grass.
I mean, I'm not going to be the one that says you can park this much on the grass and you can park this much on the grass. If you say no parking on the grass and you're
It's
parking
no-
on the grass, then you're
That's it.
in violation with the
Right.
Sandoval
Right.
Association, not management, not the board, you know, the association's parking. So
Right.
I'll send it to you. You guys can revise it, update it, decide, and specify that.
Right.
You're
What
going
are
to send it,
security's hours now? Is it still that they
They
leave at 8?
still are, not at 8, 11.
Oh, they're staying till, okay. Good.
If we were towing, we were bumping their hours back, but since there's not any towing, then they're going to
Because
stay
I
at
see
those
them at the
hours.
pool. Is that what they do when they first come on? They have to work at the pool first?
No, he makes his rounds anyway. So he will go by the pool. Yes, he'll go by the
At
pool.
5 o'clock, he's at the fishing pier for the kids that are swimming.
I get his GPS.
At 9 o'clock, he says goodnight to the
Yeah.
basketball court
Yeah.
kids.
Sent.
No, they're mobile.
I get his GPS tracking. So
Yeah.
well, I had a complaint about his speeding, and they sent me his GPS showing his speeding or what it was to the community. I was
Really?
like, well, geez.
Wow.
Okay,
So a motion to table towing was on the floor. Someone want to second that motion? Lori, thank you.
It's parking and towing. It's more than just towing, right?
right, parking and towing.
Right, well, parking violations for parking. Got it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Oh, opposed?
Yeah.
None. Thank you. The neighborhood liaison and committee volunteers, Casey?
Yes, Lori.
may I address that before we go into a big discussion on it? We've gotten the list of the people who have volunteered. It's a very small response. Could we send out a second request for
Sure.
volunteers? Because I don't think that the number of people are sufficient to fill these committees.
The committees or the neighborhood liaison?
The liaison and the committee volunteers. There's only,
The liaisons, we're actually looking for 2 per street, primary and
but
secondary.
what I'm saying is, by the list that came here, there are streets that are not even addressed. Maryville and Brightside, for one, I am the liaison for that. I don't think I can be the liaison and be on the board, so I'm off that. No one has volunteered.
Yeah, my street's not on here.
So how many neighborhoods are not represented, Casey?
I didn't look at it.
It's probably about
Well, we have 3 for some.
25% of them. This
Yeah,
isn't many.
So
No.
1, 2, 3,
There's not many.
4, 5, 6,
I don't
7,
think
8,
there's any Stony
9,
Hill
10,
ones.
11,
There's no
12,
Stony Hill.
14
Three, they're not even
streets
here.
are on here,
How many streets, you have 72 streets?
including Somerville.
No, not 72.
No, not
How many
72.
streets do we have, 50?
No,
27.
no.
How about 30?
Some go a long ways,
Go around.
but it's one street.
So land based one street.
We don't
but it's
own
not
royalty,
right.
you know that, right? I think it's 27, right? Are there 27 streets?
Those
So
27 lanes?
26 lakes.
I said lanes too.
16.
There's a lot that are here.
So a little more than maybe 50%, so I think it would.
How about the,
You can't have an effective neighborhood liaison program with only half the neighborhood
you
represented.
need
And there's
to-
only one, yeah,
I would also, I don't know if historically anyone recalls having some type of neighborhood liaison charter or something like that. I couldn't find anything, and I would like it to be purposeful and not just something to where it's,
You should look in the bylaws or the covenants, because that specifically is addressed.
of the charter for the neighborhood liaisons.
No, the charter, but it discusses, it used to be the neighborhood liaison is the one who voted for your street.
Right, but
And
does
so
it
that
give the,
was all. So what I think you need to look at the updated with the amendments of I think it's the covenants.
okay, because I've
but I'm
looked
not
in,
positive.
I know what you're talking about, and I've read what those were, but as far as the goals,
I mean, the duties of those changed drastically when we
I can check
revised
with
them.
them.
Yeah.
Because to give you a perfect
I
example,
will
So
take a
it's
look and see
not,
what
you
I
know,
can find.
Right,
out.
I'm not gonna bother Tamara then, if you have it.
You can
Okay.
ask Tamara too, because, except she was off,
After?
she was off before I really went
I know
on.
Jerry tried to resurrect it and had
Yes.
some
Yeah,
ideas.
I heard it was-
Were you on it too? Were you?
I think at the very end. with
So
Jerry.
let me look and I'll see
just
if
a
I can
very
find something.
large
Right.
list, a large group, as far as what are the, just bringing in the concerns, I think structuring that to say, okay, what type of, can they, form different committees, subcommittees, and work on, things like that. I just would like some
It was
clarity.
an avenue for the general manager to provide information that they could take back to their fellow
Correct.
residents. It also was a mechanism that the neighborhoods could bring their concerns to
Concerns,
management, so that you heard it. And so there was a two-way
Correct.
passing of information that gave, and then the neighborhood liaison would then create a report for his neighborhood. Then it became a problem because, some would have
Some
one
did it,
interpretation
some
and some
didn't.
would have another, and so therefore there were minutes that were put out that they then relate to this. So it becomes a political issue in some instances because of
So we
interpretation
need to
of the
hire
liaison.
another staff member to run the neighborhood liaison.
So,
Oh,
If I
okay.
recall, they used to have either weekly or monthly meetings.
Monthly meetings.
monthly meetings.
Monthly meetings.
But then
Okay.
we stopped for about a 6-month period and we haven't had any.
I just know there's a big desire. I've been promising that we were gonna start it,
What I
start it.
suggest we do is try to see how it goes, see how many neighborhoods come, I mean, how many participate, whether you have good participation, and if you don't have, 80 or 90% of the neighborhoods participating, it's not a viable program. So see what the participation is, and then
Right.
you determine whether it's effective or not.
But do you think you could send out another
I think it's
request for
needed no matter
volunteers?
whether it's
You can't
effective or
start the
not.
program when you're missing all
Right.
those trees.
Exactly.
I think we just,
So one
Table.
separate, one for neighborhood liaison, and then one for the committees. Can we establish may we, Mother May I? Can we establish the board liaisons to the committees?
yes.
Or do you wanna wait on that?
We can do that if you want.
Okay.
So I'll just flip through what I have. So the first one that comes is amenity committee,
That was L. Roper.
amenities committee. So right now we would have, we would need the oversight. There's the pickleball tennis court going on. I know that it hasn't started, but working
That's
with
an ad hoc committee.
Under amenities, though.
under amenities, like a subcommittee. So these are things, just amenity, things that are going on. The amenities are the pool, the tennis court, the dog parks are amenities. These are all different amenities out there. Does anyone want to volunteer to be the liaison, or I'm gonna hold on that one?
And what does the person have to do?
There's a charter for each one, but with Al was very hands-on as well with seeking proposals. There was projects, even
Well, that was
finding repairs and maintenance items that needed to be
capital
done.
improvements. That wasn't amenities.
Looking into
That wasn't
that
amenities.
wasn't
That was
amenities.
capital improvements.
Purpose is to gather community input and information for new and improved amenities and assist with requests for proposals.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I
Rob
did.
New and
Purcell
improved.
he volunteered again. He's been on it for a while.
Who's
And
that?
Arlene
Rob Purcell.
isn't on this list, cause she sent,
Like, I'll give, she
Yeah.
is, I updated it.
yeah, you did,
after.
yeah, cause I
Okay.
know, cause she,
So this
I
one-
asked her, I says, I thought you would, and she says, I did. I said, well,
And
you
a lot
may
of the
not
work
either.
that they do, unfortunately, like the tiki huts. Okay, you wanna move on from it? Alright, so go ahead.
Do you want to,
I'll do it.
okay. Anita will take that role.
Yeah, look at the, online is the charter,
Yeah, I'll look at
and it may need to be
Okay.
refreshed. I'd like to
ARC committee,
I'd like to stay with it.
okay,
In covenants, it kind of goes hand in hand.
alright.
I'll
That's
take
the ARC one.
Yeah.
Arc and covenants.
Communications committee,
I can stay on communications.
Yeah, you're good with those next.
So it's like two per like board member.
you got covenants committee already. Finance committee,
Probably hold that, put that
yeah,
on
I
hold
was
right
gonna
now.
say,
Wait.
good idea. Lakes committee,
That was Scott that was on that one.
I'll do that.
okay. And then we have landscape committee,
I'll do that.
and then we have risk management committee, I don't know,
Oh, you know what, we had,
I'm missing one.
I said I would do it. No, risk management we have as an ad hoc, but then it's on here as a standing committee. It doesn't matter, I said I would do risk management,
Okay.
but I see it as an ad hoc.
You know, we have an insurance committee, and I would be glad to do that.
There was a discussion, and I don't know, it was stood up for the expiring policies, and then those were resolved.
The
So
222.
That's resolved already. There's no policies up. That was for negotiating, and
Yeah, but I kind of think that, when we're negotiating, and I think were very beneficial. I think they saved us $40,000, so I think it's something we should keep that group together.
oh yeah, no, sure, yeah, okay. So, not
I'm just confused, we have a policy in place now, so with this committee, what would the committee do?
essentially, you would stand it up several months prior to start shopping, if you even.
They were instrumental in finding the agent. They were instrumental in finding the policies. They were instrumental in reading the contract to see what policies we needed. So, I mean, they did a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
The residents on the committee really
Right.
did all this.
And the
So just-
GNO is the fall, and the general liability is the February 22nd.
Okay, that was my
keep it
question,
going
was what the time
year-round.
was. Okay.
Insurance, liaison for the insurance committee?
Yeah, I'll do that.
What about projects? Did you skip projects?
Special projects is Jim,
Security, did I skip that?
I didn't even,
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
West projects, is that,
That basically is goes and helps us get work with the city, and he
Yeah.
works with the storm water and those things. We put it as a committee. We
But it
had
really
one
isn't.
person,
Yeah.
and he's covered by the liability.
okay.
And he's more than interested in doing it again.
Yes.
He's reached out to me, yeah. I'll take the
Okay.
security committee.
Okay.
I think we
Alright,
move the
and
social.
then we've got is that social after that?
Yes.
I'd like the social.
I would too.
So we typically have two
Yeah.
in the,
Yeah,
okay.
I'd like that, please.
So the two social butterflies here.
So are we also approving everybody that's on these, like basically the list of names that you've submitted for all of these committees, but we're gonna send out?
That's what I would,
Additional? Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, because there's only one.
that's what I would say, is at least approve these.
We have.
There's a lot of work going, like landscaping, at least let them continue to do the work.
But will
They
you
walk
send
the
out a
neighborhood to
second?
see what.
Yes,
Right.
I will,
Perfect.
yeah.
I understand
We'll
that.
try to grow them,
Yeah.
but we won't build up.
Right.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
because
That's great.
otherwise you'll never get
I was just
something.
concerned because it's here as an ad hoc.
Back on the towing,
And it's here as a standing.
unfortunately, I missed that one, but I need to address it on the,
So I'm gonna
two
check the bill
comments that
tomorrow,
came in.
see, and look online for the
that I
charters,
read
to see
from
what, how they
Somerville.
differentiate, or
Amenities, I know, control.
every
Okay.
committee needs a.
Yeah, I know,
Can-
and if there's not, we need to.
Could you tell me the committees that Arlene was added to? She was added to the social and
Amenities
to
and what else?
amenities, and what was the other one?
Well, in the old days, there was a rule, you could only be on one committee, right? But I think,
Oh, real, oh.
but I mean,
There would be
We
enough.
had enough
Given the
people
amount
to
of
fill
people we
them
have
all up.
volunteering, we might need to consider.
we wanna be inclusive, but there was a rule, remember? Cause a couple people have
Oh,
asked me.
really?
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah, there
was,
was-
that was around for a long time.
We had plenty. We had plenty of people, so therefore, we had like 5 and 6 people on each committee.
Hey, we can
And in
figure-
some
we
of them,
can
the charter says how many people, so
Okay.
you have to look at the
Figure that
charters. I
out.
think it's
Okay.
premature
Get
to.
that
Ever on the
Right.
amenity one?
I have the amenities
All right,
and
I'll have to
social,
look.
but there's
So-
one other one, and
Yeah.
I forget what she said.
Okay,
I might have it
sorry,
on
but
my
we
phone.
added to the 3. I can,
Well,
I can look right after the meeting.
We don't need that.
That's right, we don't.
They wanted it right now,
We just
yeah.
want to put it
Yeah,
on.
we're gonna
Okay.
solicit.
That's all right, that's
So
fine.
I did need to address,
Okay,
I was supposed to address it at the towing, sorry, I got all my papers shifted, but in regards to the Somerville towing, I will pull up Ron Spooner and say, Casey, anywhere in the towing contract that was signed, does Somerville get any different towing treatment than anybody else in the Sandoval community? And the answer is an absolute no. 100% everybody is getting the exact same towing throughout the entire community. Somerville does have different towing rules. Those towing rules do not fall under the Master Association. Some may not. We're not going to go police through this contract that we have Somerville's rules and parking. In the past, they paid about $17,000, had their own security and towing, but now the security company, I don't know what the deal was, what they monitored their parking lots, their pool and such. So as of right now, no one in Somerville since I've been here, nor will they get any type of treatment different. With that, the conversation was that Somerville should get in their own contract if they want to have vehicles towed for their rules and regulations. After hours, then the common area, we have a contract in place, these are our parking hours. So if they wanted to have a different rule in the community, then they would need to have those different rules reported to the security company, not double dipping during those hours for the one policy we have. The towing signs, the community association has them posted on the exterior of the community, so anybody inside can use that towing company if they so choose to say, hey, we're gonna delegate one of the Somerville, Anita, you can call and report towing. That's on Somerville if it's your parking rules. Security patrols the streets the same as everyone else. The towing will be enforced just as everyone else in the community. Nobody's getting anything different than that. That's what I needed to address. The second thing was, someone was, I'm sorry, it's lost in the shuffle. Pelicans, white pelicans, they were concerned that they were not staying long in the lakes, and they had concerns with the lakes. They wanted the board, they said we need a professional to look at Greendale Lake. I'm requesting this to be placed on the upcoming board, so open item, and that's from Flo. I will tell you that we've been working, and I've documented, I'm not sure, with the Lakes Committee, I have documentation over the last 3 weeks of their responses to several different complaints we've sent them with the dead fish kill. Tilapia, we sent out notification. They are gonna come back with, and since you'll be on the Lakes Committee, they're gonna come back with testing recommendations. They're gonna come back with all these different things that we'll present to the Lakes Committee. I know they don't have a chairperson right now, so you'll be, instrumental with helping that.
The Lakes,
So-
I thought it was Steve Putnam.
He said he's not the chairperson, but he's a lifesaver.
Well, it used to be Jim Niehaus, and Jim, was gonna move.
Maybe you can talk
But Jim is still
or
here. I just
Steve
had
into
a
it.
conversation with Steve
Yeah.
about, some
very good.
issues. And
Yeah,
you know,
it's very
I think he's
Yeah.
an excellent person to suggest.
Talk him into that chairperson.
But we've had the pelicans on my lake, Vareo.
I didn't have time to
We
email her
had
back.
the tilapia. Gary, you've seen them. We've had the tilapias. The boat was in the water
see 'em
yesterday
all down my
doing
end of the lake.
sampling, and then he's on Castleberry. I'm on Vareo. So we've had the white pelicans for the last 3 weeks,
Yeah.
daily, as many as like 20.
Well,
Yeah.
Up and down.
pelicans like fish, and if there's something that that
But we had
doesn't
the
attract them,
otters.
they're not going to be there.
Yeah.
And we've had the otters as well. So, and that's what Christine from Solitude Lake Management said is, it's a healthy lake. But, the levels were normal. They came in samples like last week when we were concerned
And they
about
treated
some of the
they
tilapia.
treated the lake that
They
needed to be
treated
treated.
with
So.
aluminum.
And then
Was that your lake?
23,
Yeah,
Vareo,
yeah.
Castleberry.
Yeah, and they'll have, like, the sampling does cost, the treatments will cost extra, those are outside the contract, so you can all,
I mean,
dive into
the
that.
one question that I think everybody in the community is interested in knowing, has the aeration helped the health of our lakes? And then all of a sudden, there's these fish that are on the shore a little bit, and the answer to that is absolutely yes.
Scott reported on
Thank
that
you.
in the December, if anyone's interested, Scott reported on that in the December board meeting, and we had a town hall with Lake Management, and who's the other man that's from the sample watch?
Oh,
Pond watch.
yeah, we had that.
Pond watch.
Yes.
With
I don't
Christine,
know why I want to say Bill, but it's.
and they had proof that, again, the numbers, the readings, the testing, the levels, the aeration has made a positive impact to our healthiness of our lakes, or our livelihood of our lakes. What's the word? In December, and the end of year report is posted on the website.
Yeah, well, we have, residents can go to the live Sandoval, we update monthly lake reports
The
there.
readings.
The reading, not just the regular maintenance, but pretty in-depth stuff, at least for my lake knowledge, it's
Yeah,
in-depth.
me
So.
too.
Yeah, very knowledgeable company, but there's, been a lot of residents concerned with the fish, so they sent us some good literature on it, and
Yeah, thanks for sharing
Thank you.
that. On tilapia.
Move along to the last item is the solicitation of additional agenda items. I would like to propose for our next meeting, or it could be a special meeting, that we have to address the open treasurer's position due to the resignation of our treasurer. I don't think any of us are prepared tonight to
Is there anyone here that would like that position?
Well, I think Ron should be here to participate.
Yeah, maybe wait till we have a full board.
I'm sorry,
Maybe wait till we have a full board to be able to.
I'm not opposed to that. I think it gives us all time to, if people that we may want to bring forward to nominate, or.
Well, I mean, you could, but my comment is someone on the board here now, would they like to assume that position?
Nobody raised their hand.
Well, that was my
Yeah.
question. That wasn't that we were going to pick. It was that would anyone here want to assume that position?
I barely can balance my checkbook.
Well, you already have an officer's position.
I wouldn't, I would wanna see who from the community is interested, and see, what anybody else from the board, feels would be a valid person to assume that position.
Okay. Once we have some more information, we can make an intelligent decision at that point in time. And again, I would like to thank Bill publicly, Bill Tubb, for
Absolutely.
stepping up to the plate, not letting us hang. So
that's huge.
we're in good hands until we get this figured out.
Perfect, good.
But agree?
Yes.
I have a couple of questions. I don't know when I should add, if this is the time. I just want to see about having the lights on by the pool at night, once a month for bingo. And I know you wanted it, you said for karaoke maybe, just to get some stuff started in the community. But we need the lights. for
Well,
the
there's a
pool.
timer inside the pool area that we can change. We can
Yeah,
turn
we
them
could-
on
okay.
automatically.
That's all yeah.
It's easy to do.
I think
Is
it's,
this, I feel like this came up,
yeah, it was something, like, I don't know.
I have to go
I
back
would
through.
say it needs to be I think it's a discussion, is it, I think that's something that the social committee maybe comes up with or talks about and sees, okay, is it, again, we're doing parameters, because here's what happens. Well, now we want to do this night with the lights on at the pool. Now we want this at the lights at the pool. Does bingo only get the lights on at the pool? And I understand, but just having some type of
And can I do a private
language.
party? I'll be renting out the tiki huts.
Well, this is for residents. I mean, these are things that were done before, and to try to get some things back into
Was
the
it just,
community.
was it before COVID?
Of course,
Yes.
yeah.
But it ended because lights went off because of
We
COVID?
never had it at the pool. We had it in the clubhouse.
Okay, so it is new.
But we
This
have
is
had
new.
things.
But we have
yeah,
activities.
We've had activities.
No, we've had-
Were they ran?
Karaoke sessions where the lights were on till
Yeah, we
9.
had,
And were they run? I'm just
This is
asking.
so simple. It's easy to do.
Yeah,
And we
you
should do it
say that,
once a
but then
month.
when it's a one-off ask and a request, we just want to know.
Yeah, I don't
That's
want,
all.
I just don't want hear people start saying, well, that group can have something, and
Right.
then, you know, like, we just need to be able to, like, are there certain times, certain days that the lights are on and whoever's available goes? Like, how do we
Yeah, otherwise
figure
you're
out
just
what's-
leaving it on for, well,
Well, couldn't Lorraine?
I would
be involved in
be
that?
super
Yeah,
huge,
I mean,
if we
I
could
don't
run
know.
it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, you
Yeah,
know, when,
right.
Yeah.
No, it's not that, but it's
I
running
think
it
it's
through.
probably
I think
part of
that's
the
Right,
useful.
running it
Okay.
through
committee
Lorraine,
to
let Lorraine-
decide
yes.
what activities
have it
would
for.
warrant
Bingo,
having the
There you
lights
go.
on.
They always
Okay, I
want
like
bingo.
that. Thank you.
Bingo.
Appoint,
But
run it through, schedule it, put it
Yeah,
on the
we'll do it
calendar,
with us.
decide
That's
it,
right.
Yeah.
approved. You have to go through the social committee with the social director, approved, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And another thing I wanna know is, why doesn't our social director have a budget? I was told she don't have a budget. Why?
Well, who were you told that by?
Her,
And did you ask her as just,
and even Chrissy never
she
had a
won't,
budget.
she won't have, no one, let me, the association has a budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Right, I'm not saying, but
And the committees don't have a budget.
there is, that's an
Is there- is
inaccurate
there a line
statement,
item?
there's
Yeah, there
social
is.
line
There is.
item.
I saw that, that's what I'm saying.
However, right now, we haven't seen the financials and such, so when she came to me to do and wants to know what the budget is, I
It used to
specifically
be
said,
30, never was spent.
I
so
can't tell you exact
we cut it
amount
back
right
to
now, but we
15
haven't
and a
spent
pay-as-you-go.
much, so we should be,
Right.
you know, but, we just haven't seen the financials, but we
No,
also
it's maintenance,
haven't
insurance,
since December. So,
administrative,
But
personnel.
now, will she be able to, she wants to have a
not on
function,
this
does she have to
page.
get approved by you or by anybody to spend certain money?
absolutely, we can't just free for
With its
all.
income.
It would need to be
We're
within the
separated by
budget and
different
and
areas.
looking
Yeah,
down
with the
12,
budget.
you know, or what are we at now? So there's
Yeah.
there's absolutely accountability. It's not just, gosh, I'm gonna have this one huge great party and it was great, but now I have no more money.
It's scaled back.
And we like to
No, this is
donate,
income. This is how
pay
much
for
you think it's gonna take
wristbands,
in.
things, so that we can continue to have
And this is how much
a
the
lot
budget.
of social activities.
It was the 2020
That's
budget.
really the goal, because sustaining
approved
something, not
21.
So
just
where's
by the
2021?
association funding it,
2021.
is
Where's
a
the
really big
15?
key to the
Where did I see-
social
I
life
have my
of an
hand.
association.
Oh,
Bingo is
Yeah.
one prime example. We
no, that's the
funded it
variance
ourselves.
between the two.
It used to be that I.
Yeah,
they
'cause
did it.
Guess what, if the
They
budget
did
ever cuts social
9,950.
expenses, you'll be the one thing still going.
So it's 10,000.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I take money from each of the
There's
funds.
10,000.
So,
I
no,
put the-
as you can tell, you know, we're having a huge Easter party.
Yeah.
There's monies there, we're just trying to spend them wisely. Stretch it, be creative, have people come bring food trucks, that doesn't
Oh,
cost
yeah.
the association, but maybe residents want to spend on that, but,
And also, prior to the 2020 board, the budget was pay-as-you-go. The social budget was scaled back, we were just saying, from 30 grand to 15 grand.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a pay-as-you-go.
But
Because
we
it-
never spent 30. So it's
Gary
not, it's
had-
not like it
Gary
was
had
cut back, it
50,000 when
was
he was here.
brought
Yeah,
back
but
to
those
what
days are
had
over.
been
Yeah, I
spent.
know, but
Right.
I'm just saying,
Well,
you
again,
know,
manage
and then it went down to
expectations.
30 or 15.
And now it's 10.
But there is a
9,950.
line item for
Yes.
social.
Yeah, there is.
absolutely.
It's
So-
You can look at the
9,000.
budget, go look
Yeah,
at the, if you
right.
look at the
Oh,
budget
okay, so
That's
it's
on
online.
there, that's what I'm
$10,000.
saying,
Yeah.
though.
I don't know where, I don't know, you had a conversation with an employee that, I don't know what was said, she said there was no money to spend, I don't know where that came from.
No, that she didn't, she doesn't know how much money she had, she doesn't have a budget, she said. So,
Yeah.
I know Chrissy said the same thing, she had to ask permission to spend money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
There's a
that's-
credit card that's under my responsibility, and absolutely, that is true.
Yeah.
I don't pick and choose events. I don't pick and choose the items that are there. I don't pick and choose the dates. I don't pick and choose anything like that. But if you're going to take the credit card, I don't micromanage, but I hold the accountability because it's my responsibility at the end of the day. So,
Doesn't answer all your questions?
Yes,
Amy?
it does.
okay.
Anybody else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
I think everyone seconded it.
And we managed to keep it under 3 hours.
We're not done.
Open
We had
comments.
we
to go to
Not done.
open comments, I'm
Open
sorry,
forum.
yes. Any open
Those were the
comments?
ones I read. The towing, I backed it up in the Pelican.
Oh, those are the ones?
Yes,
Oh, good.
yes,
Okay, perfect.
sorry.
All right, very
Yep.
good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Vic.